National Broadcasting Company. Now in its 7th decade of bringing you baseball's memories. Baseball's milestones. Baseball's majesty. And baseball's magical moments. NBC Sports proudly presents the Major League Baseball Game of the Week.
Today from Tiger Stadium, it's the Chicago White Sox versus the Detroit Tigers. The Game of the Week is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft. Cold filtered for real draft smoothness, it's beer at its best. By Mitsubishi Motors. Experience the sensation of a full line of new cars and trucks from Mitsubishi. By Shopvacs Litter Critter, the manual push sweeper that cleans driveways, patios, and other outdoor surfaces. And by the Champion Spark Plug Company. This is Tiger Stadium in Detroit, where we've got beautiful weather and a ball game between the Detroit Tigers and the Chicago White Sox. Hello, everyone. This is John Miller, along with Ken Harrelson, the second game of our NBC doubleheader. We have one out. Gary Reedus, the leadoff hitter for the White Sox, has just hit a fly ball into right center field, where it was caught by Pat Sheridan, and the batter now is switch-hitting second baseman Donnie Hill. He's facing right-hander Jeff Robinson, Tiger pitcher today, who made one other start this year. And that was a winner against the Chicago White Sox. And Ken Harrelson, what can you tell us about this young right-hander?
He's basically a sinker-slider pitcher. He'll throw, it looks like to be the split-fingered fastball for the change. But when he gets in the jam, he'll go with a slider, the good hard slider.
2 balls, no strikes, the count to Donnie Hill. The Tigers in their 5th game of the year with Chicago, and the White Sox have yet to win one. Last night, Detroit posting a 3-1 victory. Might have been that split finger right there, but it's 3-0. Rick Reed is the plate umpire, calling the balls and strikes.
Boy, this is a tough time to start a ball game. Get those shadows right out there, the ones from the light standards covering that mound. It's all right if it's just covering part of home plate, but when that guy is throwing out of the shadow into the sun, back into the shadow, it's tough to pick up that spin.
Ball 4. So Hill down to first base. Hill acquired from Oakland during the offseason. 1 out, 1 on, and here is Greg Walker. Walker, one of the key hitters in this ball club, but right now he is struggling, and the White Sox are struggling. They're hurting with Harold Baines, their biggest hitter out of action.
Oh, he's the heart of the lineup. I consider Harold to be one of the top 3 hitters in the American League. If you're talking about clutch situations, he just can knock in the big runs for you. He's going to be out for another couple of weeks yet with arthroscopic surgery on his knee.
Matt Noakes, the catcher, looks like he's having a little trouble seeing the ball as it came in there. 1 ball and no strikes. Doug Rader coaching at third for the White Sox, and Art Kushner over at first. Dave Bergman holding the runner on over at first. 1 out, 1 on in the first. It's a ball and a strike. Greg Walker snapped an 0 for 25 streak last night with a single to center. What's wrong
with that? Nothing wrong with over 25. Everybody does that, Johnny. He has been struggling, there's no question. Greg has a bit of a tender right shoulder that's hampered him. What they're trying to do, most of the clubs, if they've got better than a mediocre fastball, what they'll try to do is keep the ball up and in on him, and he has trouble getting on top of it. But if you're not better than mediocre, you better be pinpoint.
It's a ball and 2 strikes. Tiger Stadium, a great hitter's ballpark, but as Ken Harrelson said, this is a tough time of the day to be playing here. The friendly right field porch. The last 3 years, there have been more home runs hit here than any other ballpark. But so far, early in this 1987 season, the Tigers game has been more pitching and defense than hitting. He didn't check. Strike 3.
There's that good hard slider coming down on him. That's been the pitch that has given Sox hitters trouble from Jeff Robinson. Back on April 12th, he beat him 7-1. And he was just slider balling them to death.
Robinson 10-7 at Nashville last year, and he's hoping to become the first Tiger rookie to win his first 2 major league starts since Randy O'Neal, who's now with Atlanta. Did it 3 years ago. Robinson, I think, surprised some people. They were hoping to use him out of the bullpen. And there's strike one to Ron Hassey, veteran designated hitter.
The White Sox, talking to them prior to the game, feel they can run on Robinson. Stole a couple of bases on him last time out.
And it's a ball and a strike. The White Sox just not hitting the ball at all. They're missing Baines, as we mentioned. Walker is struggling. Just about everybody's struggling. A team batting average of 197 after 9 games.
Well, Hassey's 2 for 19 this season. Walker 4 for 38.
Hill is back over at first. You see Bergman playing him on the bag. Beautiful weather. It's almost summertime here in Detroit, or so it feels. Temperatures are supposed to get to about 70 today. That one heading for the corner. Chasing it down is Sheridan. Hill to third, and he's going to try it. The relay from Whitaker. Noakes has it. He is out. Noakes dropped the ball, but the out will hold, and the inning is over. Sheridan to Whitaker to Noakes, and that's all for the White Sox. No score after.
Let's take a look at the relay here. Sheridan coming up the double by Hassey down on the corner. There's a relay throw from Whitaker to Noakes, and with 2 out, third base coach Doug Rader decided he'd take a shot, and he lost.
And a lot of people may be wondering, say, the catcher dropped the ball after that. How come he was still out?
Well, he was taking it out. The tag had already been made. But there you see the Tigers line up the way they'll run it. Neil Allen leading off. Lou Whitaker, the second baseman. Batting second, the right fielder, Pat Sheridan. The catcher, good-looking young 23-year-old catcher, and he looks like he can swing that bat, Matt Noakes. Evans, the DH, Grubb in left. The short, check that, the third baseman will be Darnell Coles at third. Bergman at first, Lemon in center, and Tom Brookins, the way we have the lineups, will be at shortstop.
Just a little test for you, Hog, just to see if you're paying attention. You passed beautifully. Here come the Tigers with Whitaker, followed by Sheridan, and then Noakes. The first 5 men in the Tiger batting order, all left-hand swingers, against right-hander Neil Allen. Lou Whitaker. Strike one. He'll be turning 30 next month. And he has become an institution there at second base, as has Alan Trammell at shortstop, although Trammell, one of the many Tigers, out with injuries right now. A ball and a strike. Neil Allen on the mound, and this is kind of an important start for him. He didn't show anything in spring training. He's got knocked around early this year in his previous start against the Tigers. And Jim Fregosi and his staff are a little bit concerned about him.
Well, the reason they're concerned is over the winter, after he had an arm problem last season, he lifted a lot of weights, and what in essence he did, he bunched his muscles up in his throwing arm. And they are not stretched out yet. He is not throwing the ball. You can just see right here, he's not throwing the ball like he's capable of it. As a matter of fact, in spring training, they didn't get him over 80 very many times. And when he's out there, he's got to be, Neil can get up to 87, 88. But if he's going to feature today, he's going to feature the fastball, a curveball, and a change of pace.
2-2 the count to Whitaker. In the dirt, 3-2.
They've been working with Neil the last week on extension. In fact, in spring training, they had him throwing long. And that's one of the worst things that a pitcher can do, is lift weights not knowing what you're doing, because that's exactly what's going to happen. The end result's going to be you're going to bunch those muscles up. And I'm telling you, it is a booger-bear to try to get them strengthened, lengthened out again.
Full count to Whitaker. And a fair ball. Chasing it down into the corner is Reedus. An easy double for Lou Whitaker. That'll bring up Pat Sheridan. No score as the Tigers come to bat here. Last of the first inning. Lou Whitaker, he's muscled up the last 3-4 years. He can hit the home run now, but he can also do that, spray the ball around.
Well, he got a good pitch right there. The fastball up out over the plate just went right with it. Lou, through his experience, learning not to be greedy in certain situations, certain locations. His kill zone, though, is a little down and in, and he can juice it. He's got that live bat.
So Whitaker's at second, and here is Pat Sheridan. Sheridan in there in place of the injured Kirk Gibson. And Sheridan has really helped the Tigers early. He's hit the ball well at .323. Didn't do much for them last year with the bat. Pretty good outfielder. He runs real well. There's a strike. You're talking about Neil Allen and his motion and short-arming it. Here's a look.
Well, he has one of the bigger leg kicks in Major League Baseball, but he's not, you can see right there, he is not extending back. Consequently, most of the time when you don't extend back, you're not going to extend through. He's cutting his pitch, his delivery short.
Well, there was an interesting pitch.
Yeah, that's going to be tough to break that code right there. But Neil, with, I think, one of the better deliveries when he's in sync out there. Of course, the bigger and the more motion you have, the tougher it is to get it in sync.
A ball and a strike. There's Whitaker at second. Popped up.
Trouble.
Boston still coming. He's there now. And they're going to be fighting the sun, it looks like, particularly in center field and right field.
There was a good pitch by Allen. Sheridan's job right there was to try to get Whitaker over to third base. He got the fastball. It looked like a little cut fastball in on him. And there you see the White Sox defense. From left, Reedus, Boston in center, Lyons in right. Around the horn, Walker at first, Hill at second, Guillen the shortstop, Hewlett at third, and the battery of the veteran Carlton Fisk and Neil Allen.
One out. Whitaker still at second base. Sheridan was unable to get him over to third. And here is Matt Noakes. And he's a fella that the Tigers got from the San Francisco Giants, along with Eric King and Dave LaPointe last year. Pretty good trade, as it turned out, for the Tigers. LaPointe is no longer with them, but King has really done well for them. And Matt Noakes, they're very excited about him. They think he can be an excellent big league hitter.
Oh, he's a good-looking young hitter. Oddly enough, he's a left-handed hitter, but he likes the fastball up. Most left-handed hitters, you know, like it down. But that last pitch, there was a good curveball by Neil. And if he's going to establish anything, it's got to be that curveball. He's got to put in the mind of those Tiger hitters he can get that curveball over at any count.
1 ball, 1 strike to count to Noakes. No score, last of the first. Whitaker at second. Darrell Evans is on deck. There's a breaking ball, and he got it in there. Up in the strike zone. 1-2 the count.
There's a good hook. That one had a little bite on it.
Alex Grammas, the third base coach for Detroit. And Dick Tracewski is coaching over at first base. Tiger Stadium celebrating its 75th birthday this year. Another breaking ball. Bounced foul off to the right. 1-2. Ken Harrelson, of course, now one of the television voices of the New York Yankees, but for many years a broadcaster for the White Sox. And last year, he was the general manager of the White Sox, engineered many trades, and in many respects put together this current edition of the White Sox.
Ball 1, strike 2, 1 out. Here in the bottom of the first.
1-2 the count. And missed with that breaking ball. 2-2 now.
Obviously, we will talk a little bit about that later on during the telecast, but there you see George. Sparky Anderson. Oh, check that. I was looking at the wrong monitor. There he is. All right. Sorry, Kenny.
Sparky's been here since 1979. 2-2 pitch. Base hit. We'll get a look here. They're going to hold up Whitaker. And Reedus throws all the way through. Holding it first, though, was Noakes. And the big slugger, Darrell Evans, is coming up with 1 out. Last night, they ran on Reedus on a fly ball. He was in center field, and his throw was a little bit weak. Today, he throws it in there, overthrowing the cutoff man, but...
Well, there Neil Allen tried to slip the fastball by Matt Noakes, got it up out over the plate, and he just went right with it as well. And the throw, he got it in a hurry, so Noakes had no opportunity to go into second.
Noakes at first, Whitaker at third. 1 out. Darrell Evans, one of those marvels. He'll be 40 next month. He's off to an excellent start for the Tigers, which usually he is not. He's not a guy who has his best stuff early in the year. Keeps himself in great shape. They got a big shift on for him in the infield. The breaking ball is low. Shortstop Guillen, you see him there at the top of your screen, almost right up the middle, with the second baseman Hill pulled over toward first base, and Walker on the bag at first with Matt Noakes. Darrell Evans, he says he stays in shape in the winter. He runs 3 miles most every day, plays a lot of tennis with his wife. Just a bit outside. That is 2-0 to Darrell Evans. Got that tailor-made stroke for this ballpark.
Well, he's a good fastball hitter, good low fastball hitter. And he's made a good living, hit a lot of home runs on that pitch. Also, he can obviously hit the mistake on you. But his kill zone is definitely the fastball down in there.
Well, Allen was very high with that one. 3-0 the count to Evans. Another left-hand hitter, Johnny Grubb, is on deck. Evans hit 29 home runs last year. He hit 40 the year before. There's Grubb. He seems to be getting better, if anything, with age. He's discriminating at the plate.
Better try to make
a lot of walks.
Pitch right here.
And he drew a walk right there. It wasn't a good one. They're loaded for Johnny Grubb. And Neil Allen is going to get a visit right here from manager Jim Fregosi. Allen in some early trouble. Now, when he faced the White Sox last week, or when he faced the Tigers last week, April the 10th, he went just 2 innings. He gave up 3 runs and 4 hits. Whitaker and Noakes each hit homers against him in the first inning. He also pitched in relief for 1 inning and got out of that without any trouble. But he's in a lot of trouble right now.
Well, they let him up back at Comiskey Park. Right here, what's going to happen, or what usually happens, I should say that. What usually happens in the case of Neil Allen, as you look at the bullpen, right-hander Joel Davis starting to loosen up. But what usually happens in a case where Neil Allen is a veteran, he made a mistake this winter, there's no question about it. Lifting those weights, not knowing what he was doing, bunching those muscles up. What's going to happen, probably he's going to get out there in a ball game, and all of a sudden he's going to get so disgusted and so hot at himself, he's just going to throw 1 or 2 pitches with reckless abandon. He's going to strengthen those or lengthen those muscles out, and then that'll probably get him over the hump. But he's going to have to get to that point mentally where he just says, to heck with it, I'm going to turn it loose.
From the windup with the bases loaded. Ball 1 to John Grubb. Grubb had an outstanding year last year for the Tigers, playing on a part-time basis. He's struggling early this year, 0 for 16. You see the Chicago infield. Ball 2. Whitaker is at third base. Noakes at second and Evans at first. And now Fisk is going to go out and visit.
Now, the 2-0-3-1, he's going to get lit up some more. Especially when you don't have your good stuff. The only guys that can pitch from behind the count are guys with those 95-mile-an-hour fastballs. Not a whole bunch of those around. Johnny Grubb, the hitter, 38 years of age, and I think they were looking to get rid of him last year. Some injuries kept him on the roster, and then he ended up hitting .333 a year ago. 2-0 the count. Big pitch. 3-0. They're just flat aiming it now. How long will Jim Fregosi go with him at this rate? Well, the club's 3-6. If they were 7-2, you might go a little longer with him. But when you're 3-6 trying to win a few ball games, he won't be out there too long if he doesn't throw strikes and get somebody out. Darnell Coles, a right-hand batter on deck. 3-1 to Grubb. And he has walked in a run. Whitaker scores. The bases are still loaded. Now a run is home. His second consecutive walk. The White Sox have not shown much of an ability early this year, or last year for that matter, to come back from any kind of a big deficit. They were last in the league in scoring a year ago and hitting, and they're already last this year, particularly with Walker struggling, and he comes into your picture now visiting with Neil Allen, and also with Baines out of action. They can't really afford to get down by too many runs to anybody right now. Well, last year I thought in all my career is, here he comes. He's not going to go long, as we said earlier. His club is struggling right now. And if they fall behind 4 or 5 runs early in a ball game, it's just awful tough. 1-0 Detroit. Joel Davis is going to be coming on now, and we'll return to Tiger Stadium. There you see the new pitcher for the White Sox, 22-year-old right-hander Joel Davis. He's a big fella, 6'5", 205 pounds, coming in. Bottom of the first inning. Tigers lead at 1-0. Bases loaded, and Darnell Coles at the plate. Noakes, the runner, at third. Evans at second. Grubb at first. Darnell Coles had an excellent year for the Tigers last year. And Davis starts him off with a strike. Joel Davis has been in 2 ball games this year, made 1 start. He's 0-1 with a 5.14 earned run average. And you see Coles early this year. But last year he had 20 homers, 86 RBIs,
They got him for virtually nothing from the Seattle Mariners.
I believe they got him for a pitcher named Monteleone. And Darnell Coles has had some problems defensively throughout the spring, and already this year he has committed 6 errors. A couple of them have been costly, but he's going to be a good one. He's a good offensive player. He can turn that number 1 around in a hurry.
White Sox infield, double play depth. They chased one that time. 1 ball, 2 strikes. That pitch had something on it.
Yeah, just a fastball to sail up and out of the strike zone. If you're looking for some giddy up, you'd head there too.
1-2 to Darnell Coles. He crowds the plate. You see, he was pretty tough last year with the bases loaded. That one is hit pretty well. Boston at the warning track. All 3 of the runners have tagged, but Grubb will go back to first. Scoring is Noakes, and Evans takes third. 2-0 Detroit. When you hit one to center field in this ballpark, you really have to hit it well to get it out of here. 440 feet to straightaway center field. And even in the spot there where Coles hit that ball into deep right center, there's some parks so that would have gone out. Here's Dave Bergman.
There was a nice job of hitting. He just took the fastball inside out of it, trying to get the fly ball to get the man home, and almost hit himself a big one.
Dave Bergman, veteran first baseman, excellent glove. Right to the first baseman Walker. So that does it. Tigers have 2 on the board. After 1, they're leading 2-0 here in Detroit. We'll be back. John Miller with Ken Harrelson here in Detroit. Ken, last year the general manager of the Chicago White Sox, kind of a tempestuous reign and certainly a high profile. When you look back at it, Ken, is there bitterness with you, or was it a good experience overall?
No, there were a lot of things that had to be done. I was just sitting here looking at the monitor, though. With my nose and your receding hairline, we cover up that screen pretty well. But no, they have no bitterness. There were some things that had to be done last year. We did them, and obviously it caused a lot of adverse publicity and perception of the fan to the ball club. And for that reason, I felt like it was best just to withdraw. This club right now, the organization is on the right track, and I feel very confident in the next few years the fans will see the result of it.
And the White Sox up to bat here in the second, down by 2 runs with Carlton Fisk, followed by Darrell Boston and Steve Lyons. Fisk catching today. It's the 3rd time this year he's done the catching. Ron Karkovice has been doing most of the catching. Jeff Robinson delivers ball 1. Fisk will be followed by Boston and Lyons. Carlton had a triple last night. That's the only extra base hit until the double in the first by Hasse today that the White Sox had against the Detroit Tigers.
Well, they had some bad at-bats last night in that game off Frank Tanana. They were all going up there, looked like, sitting on the fastball, and he was throwing the slow curve, a little screwball. Then when they did get the fastball, he saw them off with it. Carlton had some good at-bats last evening. I still think Carlton Fisk can hit. I don't think there's any question about it. Last year was a very tough season for him. We asked him to make a change that he didn't particularly care for, and that was moving to left field. And that was one of the reasons for a lot of the unrest on the club early on in the season, starting in spring training.
Chester Lemon quickly breaking in, and that one almost sailed over his head.
Oh, he put the hammer down. He scalded it.
Fisk retired, 1 down, and Darrell Boston coming up. Here's a look at that catch. That one fooled him a little bit.
Yeah, well, as you said, you called it, right? The ball took off on him. He hit it so hard.
Now Darrell Boston. I remember when he first came into the league with the White Sox. I've been hearing it for years. Great-looking prospect, but nothing really has ever happened for him.
I'll tell you, I'm starting to get really concerned about it because of the fact he certainly has the ability. Now, whether or not he's got enough killer in him, and when I say killer instinct and competitiveness in there to, when things are going a little tough for him to just get down and get with it, so to speak, I don't know. It looks like that Darrell, you know, he's still a young fellow. He's just 24 years old. But I think it's time to be concerned at this juncture of his career.
0-2 the count to Darrell Boston.
He can run, he can throw, he can hit, he can do everything that you want to out on a baseball field. But again, we've seen a lot of guys like that over the years, and it's going to be up to him. He's the only one that can solve that problem.
Just a little bit outside. 1-2 the count.
I know that Tony La Russa, when he was managing the club, tried everything he could. And Jim Fregosi, when he took over last year, he has tried everything in his imagination to try to put a fire under his fanny.
Second strikeout for Robinson. Quickly 2 down in the Chicago second inning, and the batter is Steve Lyons. Incidentally, we mentioned Harold Baines a few times already. The White Sox certainly conspicuously hurting in his absence, and they're hoping he's going to be back, what, a couple of weeks?
Hopefully. As I said, I rate the top clutch hitters in the American League. I think Don Mattingly is #1. And you can just flip a coin between Baines and Brett for driving in the big runs and winning ball games. Harold is just amazing. He's getting better and better as he gets older. And he's still very young.
Steve Lyons, he was brought back to the big leagues when Baines had the arthroscopic surgery. Baines only played in 1 ball game, had 2 hits. Gave notice that he was ready for another fine season. And misses ball 2. 2-0 the count. Steve Lyons, a fella that you brought to Chicago last year from Boston.
In the Tom Seaver deal. Another fellow's got some talent. Now, whether or not it will surface, he had a good spring. He hit .444 this spring. He's aggressive up there. And again, I think at this particular time, on this particular ball club, I think that Steve probably, if you're talking about defensively, is the best center fielder on this club. And I also think he's probably the best defensive third baseman on this ball club. And he can turn a fastball around. So he has some ability. And whether or not it will come out, it'll be up to Steve and then Fregosi.
2-1 the count to him. 2-2. There was some talk at one point, I guess, this past winter, of him playing third base for the ball club this year, moving Hewlett back over to second.
He can pick it down there. He can really throw some leather at third base.
2-2 the count.
I got a feeling you're going to see more and more of him in the lineup, though.
3-2 now. He's kind of a colorful character, but not exactly colorful the way managers like to see
That's
guys
right.
colorful.
That's the key, Johnny. When you play for certain guys, you better have a zipper somewhere close that you can zip it up with.
That's foul and out of play off the third base side. Onto the rooftop at Tiger Stadium.
Well, that's no secret. I mean, what we're talking about, Fregosi last year in Lions did not see eye to eye on several things. And that's one of the reasons that if you're talking about Steve coming out and being a star, then the manager has to, as you look at the skipper. But a manager at that point, you know, rank and privilege, I should say, goes with rank sometimes. And so far, Stevie hadn't earned his rank.
3-2 the count. And Whitaker over to Bergman, and that'll do it. 3 up and 3 down for the White Sox here in the second inning. Tigers are leading 2-0 after 1.5. There's Chet Lemon leading it off for the Detroit Tigers here in the second inning. It is 2-0 Detroit. This is John Miller along with Ken Hawk Harrelson back in the broadcast booth. Strike 1 to Chet Lemon here in Detroit. We want to welcome all of those of you who have been watching the Boston Red Sox Toronto Blue Jays ball game played in Toronto. The Red Sox won it. Here the Detroit Tigers scored 2 times in the first inning. Neil Allen, the Chicago starter, knocked out of the box after only 1/3 of an inning, replaced by right-hander Joel Davis. 1 ball, 1 strike to count to Lemon. Lemon is hitting 8th in the order. He'll be followed in the inning by Brookins and then leadoff man Lou Whitaker. Chet Lemon, his production has gone steadily downward the last couple of years. Greg Walker looking up into the sunshine. Donnie Hill is over there as well, but Walker handles this one. 1 down.
As we talked about at the top, as you look at another final, Expos over the Cubs at Wrigley Field, 4-2. But Sparky Anderson's been having to go with the patchwork, so to speak, with the absence of Parrish, with the absence of Kirk Gibson, with the injuries that he's had. And they're 5-4, so they're hanging tough.
Tom Brookins playing shortstop in place of the injured Alan Trammell. Ball 1. Trammell hurt himself in the springtime, pulling a muscle in his thigh, and he never really got over it. It got better, but not completely healed. And he aggravated the injury running the bases against the Yankees. The first series of the year played right here, and finally, he just had to get out of the lineup, and they wanted to rest it thoroughly, get over it, and be ready for the rest of the year.
The Brewers, mercy.
Milwaukee 10-0 with a big victory last night. They're doing it with great hitting, outstanding defense. The pitching has been solid.
Well, you saw the game that Davis no-no'd the Orioles.
Broadcast that game Wednesday night.
Did you give it his proper due? Uh-oh.
It's just through there. Base hit for Brookins.
Oh, he scorched it.
And you have to scorch it if you hit it on the ground to get it through this infield. This infield, the grass is kept long, and ground balls don't often get through like that. It was exciting. Juan Nieves, only 22 years of age. The cold night in Baltimore, windy. There wasn't much of a crowd at the ball game. And Nieves did not have good stuff, amazingly enough.
I heard that. That's what I heard.
He didn't even have a real good fastball. But what he did do, and perhaps it was maybe even better for him that he didn't have the great fastball. He was out of the strike zone most of the night. It looked fat to the Orioles hitters. They chased that pitch all night long. They had a lot of pop-ups. And just a couple of really good plays to save him, but a great dramatic play right at the end by Robin Yount to preserve the no-hitter. Looked like for a moment Eddie Murray had broken it up, a shot into right center, and Robin Yount, who is certainly becoming a fine center fielder, broke with the crack of the bat, made a diving catch in right center. Lou Whitaker led off the game with a double against Neil Allen and started that 2-run rally in the first. Reed is going to have to hurry, and he won't get it. Brookins will hold at second base, and Whitaker is 2 for 2.
Well, he hit the fastball hard off Allen. There he gets the curveball from Joel Davis. His little duck snort out there in the left field.
So Whitaker hit one along the left field line for a double. Now he has hit a duck snort for a single. 2 for 2, and here is Pat Sheridan. He flied out to shallow center his first time. 2 on and 1 out. One thing the Brewers are doing is exciting the town of Milwaukee. I saw hundreds of fans were there to greet them at the airport in the middle of the night. And then last night they had nearly 42,000 at that game with Texas, which they won big. They had 7 runs in an inning late in the game to win it. 1 strike to Sheridan. Tom Tremblehorn has everybody excited over there, and it's a very, very young ball club. Just a few veterans such as Cooper and Yount and Molitor, guys who, particularly in the case of Molitor and Yount, don't play like veterans. They play young.
Another one.
Whitaker is being held at third. Reedus will run the ball back in. So, a solid single by Brookins, and then a couple of bloops from Whitaker and Sheridan, and the bases are loaded with the big hitters coming up. Matt Noakes, followed by Evans.
Well, they don't put pictures on scorecards. And tomorrow will be a line drive in that newspaper. But that's one of the things. That's when you're losing some of your top offensive players like the Tigers have, they'll take them.
Matt Noakes, he's singled in the first inning. Noakes is off to a hot start now, 11 for 28 in the year, closing in on 400. The White Sox infield will play back, double play depth. Brookins at third, not Whitaker. I'd said Whitaker held at third. It is Brookins at third, Whitaker at second, and Sheridan at first. Ball 1. Joel Davis on the mound in relief of Neil Allen. Got a pretty good arm. You like him?
He's got, I don't think that Davis is ready yet to do the job that his ability, certainly at the level of his ability. He has a good arm, but he needs more experience.
And it is 2-0.
He's going to be a good pitcher in the big leagues, but he's facing, as we said earlier, boy, there are some good-looking young hitters coming into the American League. This kid Matt Noakes right here. You look at Kansas City, the guy that really excites a lot of baseball people is Kevin Seitzer. He looks like he's legitimate. And of course, Bo Jackson, tremendous prospect. In fact, the best prospect I've ever seen.
3-0. Noakes backs out, has a quick look at Alex Grammas, third base coach. Noakes hit .285 at Nashville last year with 10 home runs. And then he hit .333 in a limited stint with the Tigers the tail end of the year. 3-0 the count. And they kind of ease that one through there. 3-1. The White Sox just trying to stay from getting blown out of this one, or keep from getting blown out. Down 2-0 already, and the Tigers with 3 on, 1 out, and the big hitters coming up. Hit sharply, could be 2. Walker had some trouble getting it out of his glove, but they get it anyway. With Davis over to cover from 3 to 6-1. Nicely turned. And the Tigers do not score. Still 2-0, and we'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
3-6-1. We'll show you this 3-6-1 double play once again. Matt Noakes, bases loaded. 2 reasons. Now, watch Walker takes a lot of time getting rid of it. He does not have a real strong arm, but Ozzie Guillen gets rid of it in a hurry. But the 2 reasons being the ball was scorched by Noakes, perfect one-hopper, and it gets the White Sox out of a big jam.
So the White Sox still down by just 2, and you see what has happened in New York a little bit earlier. The Yankees, we showed ahead 6-2 after 8, but the Royals got 4 runs in the 9th inning, and despite the trials and tribulations in the big city of Bo Jackson, the Royals are right there. Yankees batting bottom of the 9th at Yankee Stadium. Tim Hewlett, followed by Guillen and Rides against right-hander Robinson. Ball 1 to Hewlett. He's hitting 8th in the order. Right-hand batter who all of a sudden became a power hitter last year. And right now he's the Sox big hitter this year.
He has the only 2 home runs they have on the ball club, and he's driven in 10.
Hewlett hit 17 home runs a year ago, which surprised a few people. Did it surprise you?
Not really. He's going to be a pretty good offensive player.
He hit that one deep. Grubb is back to the wall, and he's got it. The wind is blowing in from right field, and that may have pushed that one over toward the foul line a little bit. It's funny, in Tiger Stadium, you hit the ball to the power alleys, and you can get a fairly cheap home run, but you pull it down the line like he just did, and you really have to hit it well. 340 to the left field foul pole in this ballpark.
Well, that's just a great park to hit it. All baseball fans who have watched baseball over the years and have had a chance to come to Tiger Stadium know that. It's just, I think, really for home runs, I think it's a better park than Fenway.
Speaking of home runs, you just saw Mike Schmidt with a home run today. He wasted little time this year in getting the 5 home runs he needed. Number 500 today from Mike Schmidt. Not many in that club. I think he's the 14th ever to reach 500 home runs in a career. Congratulations to Mike Schmidt. Schmidt had been saying that he'd been looking forward to getting the 500th. He thought about it. He was excited about it. But then when the Phillies got up to such a terrible start this year, they couldn't beat anybody the first week and a half of the season. He said all of that was tempered, and he wasn't excited about it at all.
Well, you got to like what you see thus far of this 6-foot 6-inch right-hander Jeff Robinson, just 25 years old, out of Ventura, California.
And there's ball 4, something that doesn't happen very often when Ozzie Guillen is up there. A base on balls. Jim Fregosi.
If you're the pitcher, that's just like getting a traffic ticket in Caracas, Venezuela. It's hard to walk him. It's hard to get a traffic ticket down there, too. You got to be unlucky. You got to be in a slump.
Well, Fregosi was saying that he thinks Guillen is going to be more patient and draw a few more walks than he has, but he's been about the toughest to walk in this league in the last 2 years. And he's back to first. 1 out, the batter, leadoff man Gary Rides, who flied out to right center his first time. Rides has excellent speed. You saw Darnell Coles there for a moment, playing very shallow at third base. They pitch out. Well, they really think something's on here. 1 ball to no strikes. Rides acquired from the Phillies, a deal that sent Joe Cali over there during the spring. How good can Rides be? I know Fregosi's pretty high on him.
Well, if he stays healthy, you don't know. He's had a hard time staying healthy. He has, as you mentioned, a good speed. He's got big power. And I know in talking to a lot of the National League players, and those are the ones that talk to, the ones that played against him, they're all very high on the ability of Gary Rides, says Billy Muffett, the pitching coach. Now he's going to go out there and try to settle Mr. Robinson down by telling him a few things. Hey, you got a 2-run lead. There's 1 out. You walked one of the toughest guys in the league to walk. You're 2-0 on Rides, who's pretty much of a free swinger. So let's get with it.
Let's pause now briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network.
Proud to call it home. WTHR Channel 13, Indianapolis.
We're in Tiger Stadium in Detroit. The Tigers 2-0 over the White Sox. Top of the third, 1 out. Guillen, the runner at first. Muffet back in the dugout. 2-0 the count to Gary Reedus. And 2-1. Reedus last year underwent arthroscopic surgery for removal of bone chips in his right elbow. Played in 90 games with the Phillies. Hit only .247. Did hit 11 home runs and stole 25 bases. And Guillen back in standing up. And I think that's what you were saying, Hawk. If he can stay healthy, those are pretty good numbers. That would be 20 home runs, maybe 50, 60 steals at that pace. And again, Guillen is back. Incidentally, we were reporting to you about Mike Schmidt getting his 500th home run. Time was taken there. That's why Guillen can be off the bag and not be tagged there by Bergman. Last night, Schmidt hit his 499th clutch home run in the 10th inning of a ball game. Comes right back today with number 500. And we're going to have a report on that momentarily. Well, they're convinced, I guess, that Guillen's going somewhere.
White Sox this year have stolen 12 bases in 14 attempts. The only 2 times they have been caught has been Ozzie Guillen.
And he is yet to steal one. That's fouled back out of play over the rooftop. 2-2 the count to Reedus with Donnie Hill on deck. Mike Schmidt, during the winter, even last year toward the end of the year, he talked about that this would be his last year. His knees were hurting. He said he had nothing he really felt he wanted to accomplish. But all of a sudden this spring he started talking more about he thought he could get a contract that was lucrative enough. He'd like to come back for a few more years maybe. 2-2 the count. 3-2.
I think his first part of the conversation that you mentioned about Schmidt's conversation was one of just jockeying for position.
You never believed it that he was thinking about
I don't know. I know when I read it, I thought to myself, I said, well, he's just probably trying to put himself in pretty good shape to put a force play on somebody.
There goes Guillen, and it's ball 4 to Gary Reedus. Now we take you to New York for an update on the Mike Schmidt situation with Jimmy Cefalo.
John, in Pittsburgh, Mike Schmidt has just become the 14th player in Major League history to hit 500 career homers. The 3-run shot came off of Pittsburgh's Don Robinson with 2 outs in the top of the 9th inning to give the Phillies an 8-6 lead. Once again, Mike Schmidt has just hit career homer number 500. Now back to Detroit and John Miller.
Thanks to Jimmy Cefalo. That update, Mike Schmidt making baseball history today. Here in Detroit, the Tigers leading the Sox 2-0. Chicago with Donnie Hill at the plate. He walked his first time. And Robinson now has walked 2 more in this inning. Guillen, who is at second, and Reedus, who is at first. And the White Sox have a shot here to get back into this ball game early on. Greg Walker is on deck. 1-0 the count. And the Tiger bullpen is getting busy. Mark Thurmond, a left-hander, has started loosening up down there.
Well, just as we were talking about, you had to like what you saw in Jeff Robinson. He was, first 2 innings, he just came out, he got it, he threw it. He was on top in the count. He was 0-2, 1-2 to most of the hitters. And all of a sudden, he's just backed up here in the top of the third, falling behind in the count.
Donnie Hill, 283 last year for Oakland. He's a switch hitter. Brookins has it to Whitaker. They'll get just the force out. Ball just wasn't hit that sharply, and it hit into that very lush foliage there in the infield, which slows up every ground ball. Down to third base goes Guillen. Reedus is forced out at second. 2 down, 2 on, and here is Greg Walker. He was having himself a pretty good year last year before he suffered an injury that put him on the shelf for the rest of the year. Greg Walker, the hits have been few and far between so far this year. Struck out his first time, 4 for 39 now. Ball 1. Jim Fregosi was talking about Walker and changing stances a little bit. He had tried something else, but now he says he's just going back to his original stance.
Well, I think in Greg's case, that's the best thing he can do. Just leave him alone, and he'll come out of it.
Pretty good pitch there, right in the outside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike to count.
The worst thing you can do when you get a good, solid hitter, like Walker is, he's the thoroughbred, there's no question about it, is try to put other thoughts in his mind. So to go out, take extra batting practice, any hitter.
And Robinson continues to struggle with the strike zone here. 2-1 the count.
Same thing holds true, excuse me, John, for the Tigers with a guy like Kirk Gibson when he was struggling when he first came up.
You see Bergman there playing behind the runner at first. 2-2. Walker walks away from the plate.
Yeah, he's very upset with the call by home plate umpire Rick Reed. He thought he missed one in his first at bat.
Ron Hasse would be next. He's on deck. 2-2, 2 down, 2 on. And Bergman will take it unassisted. And Robinson struggles, but gets out of it. 2 walks and 2 left at the end of 2 1/2. Chicago trailing Detroit by a score of 2-0. Here come the Tigers. Last half of the 3rd inning. They're leading 2-0 over the Chicago White Sox. And Darrell Evans will lead it off, followed by Johnny Grubb and Darnell Coles. 2-0. The Tigers getting 2 runs in the 1st inning. And Darrell Evans, part of that rally, drew a walk right in the middle of it against Neil Allen. When Yastrzemski got up around 40 years of age, he always experimented a lot anyway. But he changed his stances, adjusted so he could still hit that inside fastball, among other things. But Darrell Evans says he still uses the same stance now he used 10 years, 15 years ago.
Well, Darrell, for the most part, I did not see him that much when he was in the National League. I just know by following his career over there and then watching him since he's come to the Tigers, just what a professional hitter he is. He can do a job. He's a very smart hitter. And if the pitchers can't get that pitch right there, the inside strike, somebody's in trouble. But he has his zone, and when you get in there, you're in trouble. You make decent pitches on him, and you're going to get him. And primarily, that's the name of the game.
2-2 now the count as he bounces it foul off.
But the one thing about Darrell and Yastrzemski, Darrell right now being 39 years of age, and Yastrzemski, when he was 39, he actually hit the fastball better when he was 39 and 40 than he did when he was 32, 33. But the reason being, he just changed his thought processes. That's all. He didn't get any quicker. Your thinking will get you quicker, or your thinking will get you slower. There he just, Darrell, he's a low ball hitter, chase the high heat, and he'll grab some bench.
1 down, and here is Johnny Grubb. Let's take a look at that again.
Well, this ball is just by him. You can see it's not in his zone. He has no chance to get up on top of it. And that's how you get him out. But as I said earlier, don't make the mistake and get down low with it.
Johnny Grubb, the hitter. He walked with the bases loaded, driving in the first of those 2 runs in the 1st inning. John, you see his numbers there. He was sitting on the bench much of the first half of the year, finally got some time, and he just went crazy. Really productive season for Grubb. Going back to Darrell Evans for a moment, he told me one thing that he does with his wife is play a lot of tennis. He feels it's good for his reflexes. That one is foul. 1-1 the count. He feels that sometimes you get up in age, it's not a question of just of being in shape and that sort of thing. He takes care of himself, but also sometimes your reflexes slow up a little bit. He feels that the tennis, among other things, helps his reflexes.
Well, if you combine that as one of the activities that you and your wife share together, yeah, it could be beneficial.
But you're not convinced.
I like the other one better. I think that when he, as you said earlier, though, he runs. And see, that's the thing. Most baseball players, I think running is one of the greatest things you can do. I think it's more beneficial than weightlifting or those programs or with the bicycles. Running, you know, for some reason, they want to bring high tech into baseball. And baseball is, I don't think, is ready for high tech yet.
Donnie Hill got to it. And Johnny Grubb is out number 2. Incidentally, you saw that score from New York, 7-6, a final. The Yankees blowing the lead in the ninth inning, but coming back to win it anyway. Bud Black, Royals left-hander, walked in the winning run in the bottom of the ninth. The Yankees, you've seen them quite often early in the year, Hawk. What about them?
They're strong, very strong. One of the best balanced offenses you want to see.
But people feel maybe the pitching could be a problem for them.
Well, if you could name me to the definitive staff in their division, then I could say, yeah, they definitely have a deficiency there. But Roden is going to help them. Yes, he just threw that one right by Coles. Rasmussen looks like he's legitimate. 18-6 last season. Started off 2-0.
The Chicago White Sox, they just can't decide what they should wear to their ball games. For a few years, they wore that. Even at times, they wore short pants in the Bill Veeck era. Then new ownership came in. They said, we want new uniforms, and that's what they got. But then the Hawk Harrelson era was ushered in. And now, in 1987, and Hawk, I know you had something to do with these new uniforms.
Well, as I said, I don't like the high-tech trying to get into baseball too quick. I like the Yankee, the Red Sox, the Tiger uniforms over the years. They remain constant. And those, to me, that's tradition. And I like tradition in baseball.
Well, I agree with you 100%. I think the Tigers uniforms, they've been wearing these kind of uniforms for a long, long time. The Yankees, Red Sox. And that's what baseball is all about.
I think so.
1-1 the count to Ron Hasse. He doubled in the first inning, but on that double, Donnie Hill was thrown out trying to score to end the first inning. Fisk and Boston will follow. 2-0 Detroit. Robinson with a count now of a ball and 2 strikes to Ron Hasse. Talking about Tiger Stadium and home runs and how many have been hit in this ballpark, particularly the last few years. They've been flying out of here.
Well, the ball's hot. This year, from just what we've seen through the first week and a half or 2 weeks of the season, first 9 or 10 games, I don't ever recall seeing a ball that was hotter. And all they do in that case, obviously, is they wind them tighter. But there are some shots. Larry Herndon hit a shot here in Tiger Stadium off the facade of that upper deck, just above the full 40 sign out there in center field. And it wasn't a fly ball. It was a line drive. It was one of the most awesome home runs you ever want to see hit.
Off the glove of Bergman. Good try into the right field corner. Chasing it is Sheridan. And Ron Hasse has himself a stand-up double.
His second 2-bagger on almost the same pitch. Robinson has tried to trick him twice up there, and both times he's just roped him.
So the White Sox with their second hit of the ball game. Hasse has both of them, and here is Carlton Fisk. He hit the ball hard his first time to center field, but it was caught. Well, you talk about home runs in this ballpark and the shot that Herndon hit. Any ball that is hit for a home run to center field is a long one at 440 feet. But you hit one here one day. If anything, it was even longer. That made the bleachers up there. A little bit left of center.
Well, I hit mine. It was downwind, so to speak. And Larry hit his against the wind on a cold day. I mean, it was just almost unbelievable. You had to really, it was one of those situations you had to see it to really believe it, especially if you've seen this park. I mean, when the ball was hit, when the ball's hit here to center field, the first thing that pops in your mind is deep. But it's going to be caught, or maybe over the head of the center fielder. This ball never even thought about coming down.
Well, when you think of booming home runs, you think of Reggie Jackson, people like that standing at the plate, admiring their handiwork. And I asked Larry Herndon about it, and he said he never saw it. He hit the ball hard to center field. He knew it was hit well, but he said, I've lost too many balls that I've hit well to center field in this ballpark that ended up getting caught.
Oh, sure.
So he said, I knew I was going to had a shot at getting over the head of the center fielder, but I had to run hard.
Yeah, Carlton right there trying to take a shot to right field. Down 2-0 here in the top of the 4th. There you see the transformer right there below the light standard out in right center field on the roof. That's where Reggie hit his in the All-Star game, and it was a monumental blast. But I tell you, when Herndon hit his, we were doing that game, I thought his bat was corked. I really did. It sounded like it had that splat sound. Of course, there's nothing wrong with corking bats if you can get away with it, if you don't get caught.
2-1 the count to Carlton Fisk.
In fact, I know the best corker in the business. He's still up in Boston.
He's still up in Boston?
Oh, yeah.
He's still playing in Boston?
No, he never played. He can cork bats better than anybody in the country, I'll tell you. He does a real good job on them.
Well, Other players looking in want to give this guy a call. Can they call you back at the hotel and get a number from you?
No, not really. I like to keep that a secret. Only give it out to players that you know and that you're friendly with.
Who was it? Greg Nettles one day hit a ball off the end of his bat. The end popped off and
Five little Super Balls come bouncing out.
Richie Zist told me Willie Stargell had that happen to him.
Everybody has corked their bats. Almost, I would say, well over 80 and 85%. Uh-oh.
Hasse breaking for third, and Brookins throws him out. Coles with the tag.
Well, that's 2 base running plays the White Sox have made boners on.
Ron Hasse thought it was Vince Coleman there for a second.
Well, when the ball's hit right there in front of you, and especially when you're not a speedster, as Ron is not, you got to go back to second base. But what happened was he got a break. He was so intent. When you don't have the speed like Hasse does not, what happens is you're guarding against a line drive to the outfield, and you want to give that jump so you can possibly score, especially when the club is not scoring runs. So he was out there. He was a little over anxious. He got the jump, and he just got caught in the middle and couldn't recover.
Here's a look at it.
There it is. You see, he had a good lead, which he has to give a good lead, but there is just a mistake.
And Coles had it there waiting for him. So Fisk is aboard in the fielder's choice. Hasse thrown out at third from 6 to 5, and here is Darrell Boston. He struck out his first time. We're in the 4th inning. The Tigers are leading 2-0. Boston has himself a base hit into center field. Fisk, who's a pretty good base runner himself, although not fast, he'll hold at second. So Boston has a single. He's been hurting for a hit, only his 4th hit of the year.
Well, that's what happens. There is a symptom of what goes on when a club is not swinging the bat well. You get a man on second base. He makes a boo-boo trying to go into third base. He gets thrown out. You got the man on first. Next guy comes up with a little base hit. That's all part of the game. This is an unforgiving game in that respect.
And I'll tell you one thing. I only saw him for the 3-ball games earlier this week, but that's the kind of stuff that Milwaukee right now is not doing. They're doing everything right. Steve Lyons sharply to Bergman. Brookins won, and he's taken out by Boston. Robinson was over to cover first, and Lyons runs pretty well anyway. I don't know if they're going to be able to
down the line. They're not going to turn this double play over anyway, but there the ball was hit sharply. Bergman, an excellent first baseman. Brookins coming across, and look at the job of Darrell Boston just making sure there's no throw, but Lyons was going to beat it.
So now Lyons at first. Fisk moved down to third, and the batter is Tim Hewlett. Hewlett kind of reached out for a pitch, hit it well deep to left, but it was caught at the wall by Johnny Grubb back in the third. He's 0 for 1. 3 hits for the White Sox against Robinson. Fisk trying to distract him over at third base. Coles is going to have to hurry. He's had trouble with this kind of a play, but Bergman plays it nicely, stepping across the bag, throws a little bit offline, and the White Sox are gone. 2 hits for them, but no runs after 3.5. Tigers still leading. We're in Tiger Stadium. This is John Miller with Hawk Harrelson. It is 2-0 Detroit going to the last half of the 4th inning. Joel Davis on a relief of Neil Allen, ready to face Dave Bergman, Chester Lemon, and Tom Brookins, the last third of the Tiger batting order. I want to remind you that we'll be selecting the NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game at the conclusion of today's ball game. Dave Bergman, he lined out to Greg Walker, the first baseman, his first time. Bergman came over here in '84. He played an outstanding first base. He was an excellent pinch hitter, drove in big runs for them in that great season. And then he was hit with injuries, '85, and has never really been able to find that stroke again.
I think you're going to see, although there have been some up front this year, has a little pop fly in the center field. Darrell Boston should have no problems with it if it comes down one away.
And it did.
I think you're going to see less injuries, or less, when I say less injuries, I think you're going to see over the course of the 1987 season fewer days on the disabled list. And I think there are several reasons for it. I think 2 reasons, the 2 primary reasons being the fact of so many one-year contracts being given out now. And another one is the 24-man roster. These guys cannot just afford to get on that DL with a little nagging injury, whereas they may have done it before. Now they can't afford to.
Ball 1 to Chet Lemon. Lemon popped out to first. In other words, you're saying when they had 25 men, a guy got hurt for 5, 6 days, 8 days, and he could sit out, and they had somebody there now they can't afford to go down to 23 men even for 7-8 days.
That's right. It forces the club into quicker action. But one of the big things, even more so than that, is the one-year contracts. You have more one-year contracts this year than you had in many, many years in the major leagues. And when you're on a one-year contract, the only way you can improve that contract is by playing. I think it's going to be a significant reduction when the season's over.
3-0 to Lemon. Well, now a player will tell you, on the other hand, that they play with pride. And
oh, sure.
They want to win.
I'm a player's guy.
Whether they have a long contract or not, that they're going to be in there.
Well, no, I'm not trying to impugn the integrity, so to speak, of the players who go on to DL. What I'm trying to say is that sometimes, and it has become, there's a rocket. Hewlett makes a nice little pickup. Easy toss over to Walker, and that's out number 2. But sometimes in the past, because of the 25-man roster, because of the multi-year contracts, what would happen if a guy was ouchy? He didn't want to take a chance, so to speak, on maybe doing some further damage. And I think it went to an excess in that respect. But now with the one-year contracts, as I said, the only way you're going to get the big raise and the big money is by performing and by playing when you're on a one-year contract.
Here's Tom Brookins, 2 down. Nobody on in the 4th inning. 2-0 Detroit. Ball 1 to Brookins. He singled his first time, a hard grounder through the middle. Joel Davis has really settled down, by the way, since
he's pitching well.
The bases loaded in the 2nd and 1 out. He's retired everybody since then.
There's a good breaking ball. As we mentioned, he has all the talent that it takes to be an outstanding major league pitcher. We're seeing a couple of good young pitchers out there in Robinson and Davis right now.
1 ball, 1 strike to count to Brookins. Whitaker on deck. Here's Guillen. Plenty of time. And again, 3 up and 3 down. We've played 4 innings, 2-0 Detroit, and we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. Jack Morris, a little bit bored apparently by the lack of offense in this ball game so far. He would have pitched today, but his neck has been hurting him. He had to miss a start this weekend. Jack Morris, a fellow that any ball club could have picked up this winter. He was a free agent. You're talking about one-year contracts. He's working on a one-year deal right now with Detroit. This is Ozzie Guillen, and he takes a strike from Jeff Robinson.
Well, I, for one, was certainly glad to see him return with the Tigers. He's a thoroughbred. He's a competitor. But the one-year contracts, I think, are good for baseball. I think it's going to improve a lot of situations. I think it's going to improve some situations that only had downsides before. Now, I think in the next few years, you're going to see more of an upside towards that relationship from player to management, so to speak, or management to player.
Foul tip, the count 1-2 to Guillen. There was an arbitration ruling this week that came in. The players had filed a grievance concerning the use of 24-man rosters by everyone, and the arbitrator basically just said, hey, they're allowed to do it. And I find no evidence of collusion to do it, and collusion. That's that.
I want to tell you, nice play by Darnell Coles. Mercy.
He's going to have to hurry.
Oh, he can get it over there. Darnell Coles can get it over there. As we mentioned, he's had some problems with his defense last year, then this spring, and early on in the season. But most of them have been on the throws. He's got an outstanding throwing arm. Now, he can catch it. But there was a nice play, especially in the leadoff man here in the top of the 5th. Ball hit hard. Good reaction play. Once he gets it, if it's anywhere around first base, Bergman's going to pick it, and there he makes a good throw.
So Guillen robbed of a hit. We go to the top of the order for Gary Reedus. He is flied out and walked 0 for 1 against young right-hander Jeff Robinson. There's a strike. Two 2-0. Tigers out in front. They got both of their runs in the first inning. Charged against Neil Allen, who lasted just 1/3 of an inning. That's fouled out of play off to the right, back into the upper deck. 0-2 the count to Reedus.
You know, Johnny, you're talking about collusion. I had a lot of people over the winter, because I was sitting on the other side of the desk last year, ask me about that. And I tell you, if Peter Ueberroth can get 26 owners to agree on anything, he shouldn't be commissioner of baseball. He should be president of the United States.
There are those who think that he wants to be.
I'll tell you what, he might be one day.
Well, if he did it, then he's got your vote, I think. 2-strike pitch. It's a ball, 1-2.
Well, I think he's done a lot of good things since taking over that very hot seat.
Well, a lot of people felt that the mere fact that Jack Morris wasn't signed by the Yankees. George Steinbrenner had a shot at it, could have had it, indicated that maybe something was up.
Well, when you and I were discussing that last evening, I think that you brought it. Nobody is going to intimidate George Steinbrenner. Nobody is going to tell him who or who not he cannot sign. And there you're looking at the big right-hander. So that, to me, just proves there is none going on, period.
Hit high in the air and into the sun field, right field. Sheridan, the glasses down, has it. Reedus retired. 2 down, the batter, Donnie Hill. 2-0. Detroit leading the White Sox here in the 5th inning. The Tigers have gotten outstanding pitching early in the year. Their team earned run average through 9 games, 2.14. And they're just getting outstanding pitching night in and night out. Last night, Frank Tanana with a little help from Eric King and Mark Thurmond, limiting the White Sox to 1 run.
Well, Willie Hernandez, of course, on the DL. And if he can come back, that's one thing about the Tigers. I'll tell you what, they are a scrappy outfit. They always have been. And the Tigers were always, last year, a lot of people overlooked the fact they won 87 ball games. They were 87 and 75. And they had an outstanding home record. They were 49 and 32. So if they can hang in there until Gibson gets back, because I'm a big Kirk Gibson fan, I think that he has the ability and the talent to do a lot of great things offensively for you, then who knows? With the parity of the rest of the division, which is certainly there, it's going to be a good race.
You know, it's interesting. The Tigers, the last 2 years, and as you say, the Eastern Division of the American League, very competitive. Teams evenly matched for many years. Many thought that it may be the strongest division in all of baseball. The Tigers,
there's no question about it in my mind.
Well, for 2 years in a row, the Tigers have had the best record within the division of any team. They've played better against their own division. And you see that, talk about parity, a different club has won the division every year for the last 6 years. But the Tigers have had their struggles against the Western Division. How do you explain that? They do well against the fine teams in the East and the West, which has been a little bit weaker. They've taken their lumps.
Well, if there was a definitive answer, you could solve the problem.
Sparky Anderson wants one.
He's not going to find it, I'll tell you that.
3-2 now, the count to Donnie Hill. Some publication said if the American League East would keep standings like the Big Ten Conference, Tigers would have won the last 2 years, counting only the games within the conference. Or at least they would have gone to the Rose Bowl. Here comes Matt Noakes, and it's back out of play. Bouncing from the upper deck back onto the field. 3-2 the count to Donnie Hill. 2-0 Tigers. We're in the 5th. Pretty good crowd out here at Tiger Stadium today. One thing the Tigers always seem to draw well year in and year out.
Drew almost 1,900,000 last year, finishing 3rd. Great franchise. I'll tell you, the Tiger fans are just as loyal to their... You're talking about 2 of the better franchises, I think, in all of baseball when you talk about the Tigers and the White Sox. Outstanding loyalty from their fans. And the Tigers, it's just nice to see.
That one is hit high in the air and did deep right center.
He missed
Sheridan, near the warning track, has got it. 3 up, 3 down for the White Sox. We're halfway through it. And the Tigers are leading 2-0. We're in Tiger Stadium. John Miller, Hawk Harrelson, NBC's Game of the Week. We're glad to have you with us. It's the top of the order for the Detroit Tigers. Lou Whitaker, Pat Sheridan, and Matt Noakes. Whitaker has been the quintessential leadoff man today. He doubled, starting a 2-run rally in the 1st. He singled in the 2nd.
Your what hurts? Quintessential leadoff man?
I don't know what it means. I heard somebody use it. Well, I heard George Will use it once. Here's Whitaker, a fastball for a strike. Incidentally, I want to send along all our best wishes to Harry Carey, one of the all-time great broadcasters in this game. And Harry should be back soon with the White Sox. They've had some interesting people filling in for him.
The Cubs.
With the Cubs, yeah. We used to be with the White Sox. Now with the Cubs. 1-1 the count to Whitaker.
I grew up with Harry Carey. Living in Savannah, Georgia at night. Got KMOX over the radio when he was doing the Cardinal games. And you're right. Certainly hope him a speedy return.
He has made a lot of fans for the game of baseball. 1-2 the count to Whitaker. Yesterday, Bill Murray did the ball game with Steve Stone. Speaking of George Will, he worked a ball game. Sports Illustrated rated him outstanding. Well, Whitaker down on strikes, and Joel Davis continues to run right through this Tiger batting order. He has retired 8 in a row. The last man to get on base against him was Pat Sheridan, who comes to bat now. 1 out in the 5th, 2-0. Detroit maintaining that lead.
Well, there was a good example right there of how a high breaking pitch to a left-handed hitter is not a bad pitch if it's not a hanger. There was one. Hard slider up that had bite on it. Now, if it's a roller, now you're talking about deep or a base hit somewhere. But to the left-handed hitter, that high breaking pitch is not as bad. In fact, you're seeing a lot of organizations now starting to teach their pitchers to pitch up more. For years, for 20 years, it was down, 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 with the exception of the Baltimore Orioles, who pitched up in counts. And nobody else did it. They just thought the Orioles just had good pitchers, but they had a pattern. They had a definite pattern they went around, and the hitters knew it, of course. But the other organizations always, now it's changing. That cycle is turning around a little bit.
It is 3-0 to Sheridan. It's interesting, Peter Gammons had a wonderful article in Sports Illustrated about the definition of the strike zone. And Walt Riniak, the great hitting coach with the Boston Red Sox, simply said concerning the fact that many umpires now call a much lower strike than maybe they used to. There's ball 4 to Sheridan. So with 1 out, Tigers get another base runner. Their first since Sheridan's 2nd inning single. At any rate, since the ball's been going down and anything above the belt, it's hard to get a strike called on a pitch above the belt. Walt Riniak said, hey, if a guy is not a good low ball hitter nowadays, he's just not going to be much of a hitter by and large in Major League Baseball today.
Well, again, as I said, that cycle's going to turn around a little bit. You're going to see guys pitching, more and more pitchers pitch up, especially in counts like 1-2, 2-2.
Here is Matt Noakes. He is singled and hit into a double play. Ball 1. All of a sudden, Joel Davis struggling with the strike zone a bit. That walk to Sheridan, the first that he has allowed in this game. 2-0. Detroit, 1 out, 1 on in the 5th inning. Scott McGregor, I think, is a case in point. You talk about the Orioles staff. See the Padres ahead of the Dodgers, 6th inning. Scott McGregor doesn't overpower anybody. And then he's always throwing that high strike.
High fastball for a strikeout.
Strikeout. If they do hit it, usually they pop it up or they foul it off. It looks pretty fat when it comes in there up in the strike zone. Jim Palmer, of course, did that for years and years, but he had
a little giddy up. That Brewers leading 4-2. Mercy. The old saying, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right either way. Right now, they think they can.
Atlanta, San Francisco, the Giants off to a great start. Braves beat them last night, though. Zane Smith shut them out at Candlestick Park. 1-0 the count to Matt Noakes, and again Sheridan back to first. They think he might be taken off. He has pretty good speed. I mentioned the Brewers on this date back in 1982. The Atlanta Braves won their 11th in a row to start the year. They are the all-time record holder. They won their first 13 that year before they lost.
If the Brewers win today, they can tie the Oakland record of 11 in a row,
which is the all-time American League record. The A's did that in 1981. The Milwaukee Brewers. I don't think people kept talking about parity and the strong teams in the American League East, but when they talked about those teams, nobody talked about Milwaukee, except maybe Tom Trebelhorn. There's ball 3. Tom Trebelhorn was so little known, even in the Milwaukee area. He went on some of the caravans the Brewers had during the winter, and he had a hard time getting into some of the functions. And the Brewers last year, the Orioles sort of passed them on the way down. The Orioles had a terrible finish. Brewers were down at the bottom most of the year. 3-1 now to Noakes. They've moved up a few spots already in 1987. There have been teams over the years that have gotten off to that kind of a start, however, and it didn't amount to much in the long haul.
Well, I don't expect Milwaukee to win this division, but I'll tell you they're going to be more competitive, I believe. And we talked about that during spring training, than most people give them credit for, because of the fact they got some good young arms over there and they can hit.
bullpen activity for the White Sox. A right-hander, Jim Wynn, has started to throw down there. We're 1 out in the 5th inning. Detroit leading Chicago 2-0 with a man aboard and a 3-1 count to Matt Noakes, and Darrell Evans is on deck.
And if he throws the strike right here, Matt Noakes can turn that number 1 around.
And he walked it. Back-to-back walks by Davis. The Tigers have 5 hits, and now Dick Bosman, the pitching coach for the White Sox, is going to go out to the mound. Fisk is already out there. There's Wynn throwing in the bullpen. They traded John Cangelosi for him, and there's Dick Bosman, a fellow who is a pretty good pitcher for the Washington Senators and a few other ball clubs. Juan Nieves pitched a no-hitter this week. That man, Dick Bosman, pitched a no-hitter against the world champion Oakland A's back in 1974 while pitching with Cleveland.
Bossie was a sinker, slider, splitter pitcher. He had a good one.
But that's not legal.
I know it. Well, there are a lot of things that have gone on in this game that are not legal.
How many pitchers throw a spitter?
Today?
Yeah.
Quite a few, more than you would think. They go into the guise of the split-fingered fastball because the rotation to the hitter looks the same. There are a lot more guys greasing it up today than you would suspect.
And we also Mike Scott last year in the playoffs against the Mets. The Mets certainly felt he was doing something to the ball. From television, what did you think?
Well, I'm not going to comment because Mike is a friend of mine, and I happen to know what he's doing. And he's a good pitcher. He's got a good sinker. Good Cuban forkball.
That's what Keith Hernandez
When I say
saying.
friend, he's not. He's an acquaintance, but we talked about last spring what his craftsmanship was.
Darrell Evans has walked. He struck out. Sheridan, the runner at second. Noakes, the runner at first. 1 down. Davis in some trouble.
Good breaking ball. And a good call by Durwood Merrill III. He did not go around. But there are a lot of things that go on in baseball that have gone on in baseball that, you know, obviously the frozen baseballs, 82 sets of bases, 89 feet and 90 feet. Tilting of the outfields. Anything to get that home edge.
That's foul off to the right. 2-1 to Darrell Evans. Johnny Grubb on deck. You're talking about the frozen baseballs. The White Sox did that in the 60s.
Eddie
Stanky, the manager, had some great pitching, not much hitting.
Man, when I was with the Red Sox and we were going for the pennant in '67, we went into Comiskey Park. And Stanky had those baseballs frozen. You hit your best bolt, didn't even get to the warning track. And we had some thunder over there with the Red Sox that year, too.
And it's 3-1 to Evans.
Yeah, he's in trouble. Home plate jumping all around on young Joel Davis out there. He's behind 3-1, as you mentioned, to Evans, who's a good crip hitter. You can't try to trick him too much because no pace with Grubb on deck.
The runners, Sheridan and Noakes with their leads. Davis looks back at Sheridan. That's fouled back. And out of play. 3-2.
Another thing that a lot of clubs have done in the past, too, is they build a pit out in front of home plate, about 5 or 6 feet deep. And if you put the right compound in there, you can control it to whereas you can change it from day to day or pitcher to pitcher.
In other words, if you've got a pitcher who keeps the ball down, gets a lot of ground balls, you want it soft out there.
That's right. You can soak it overnight to whereas when you come out the next day, it looks just normal because of the pit and the compound you've got in there. And then conversely, if you've got a club that's coming in and has a lot of speed, you know, not conversely on the same order, then you want to wet it up even more. And club with no speed, you let it dry out for your hitters.
Runners are going, and it's fouled back up into the upper deck. Still 3-2. Sheridan will go back to second. Noakes back to first.
There, Joel made a pretty good pitch. Full count, he threw in the breaking ball, but he was not throwing it, just trying to throw it for a strike. He had something on it.
Well, now, who did that? Who had that pit out in front of home plate?
A lot of clubs. A lot of clubs.
3-2, the count to Evans. Joel Davis trying to keep his ball club in this game. The runner's going again. And again, it is lifted foul. He's keeping the ball up. He struck out Evans on that kind of stuff the last time.
Those last two were high breaking pitches. There was the high slider coming in. But again, he is not just trying to throw it for a strike. He's still throwing good. He's turning it over. He's got some rotation on it. But you just try to throw it for a strike in situations like this, and these veteran hitters are going to get you.
And Evans fighting him off here.
There you see that high, hard slider. And Evans just got tied up on it.
Still 3-2 to Dwight Evans, or Darrell Evans. The runners go. And that one is hit foul. Jammed him. Evans bouncing it foul down the first base side. The runner's getting a workout. Sheridan again back to second. Noakes back to first. 2-0 Detroit, 5th inning. Darrell Evans has a chance here, and he has the capability to put this one almost out of reach for the White Sox the way they've been hitting. The runner's going. Well, they stayed out of the double play. Hill thought about it at second, but Noakes was there. He gets the sure out. And now Johnny Grubb, the hitter, with first base open and a right-hand batter behind him, Darnell Coles. And Fisk is out to the mound as you see Noakes there at second base. Sheridan is over to third. Fisk is out to discuss the situation with Joel Davis.
A little bit of a rock and a hard place right here as far as Grubb goes. He has been wild. He's walked 2 men in this inning. But right there, it looked like he may have regained his composure against Evans as far as throwing a couple of 3-2 breaking balls for strikes.
Johnny Grubb, he drew a walk with the bases loaded against Neil Allen in the first, and he grounded out the second in the third. Tigers ahead 2-0. They've had a couple of real strong chances to advance that lead. They let one go by the boards in the second. They've got another shot here. Ball one.
That's the last place in the world as Johnny Grubb was looking for that pitch with first base open in this situation.
Well, Fisk is upset. He thought he had it for a strike.
Right. I think it's shocked Rick Reed, the home plate umpire. You can trick those guys, too, sometimes. They're looking for a corner or an off-speed pitch of some sort. Throw a fastball right down Broadway. Oh, a good breaking ball from Davis.
A ball and a strike. Well, Grubb wants to be patient here. He'd like to get ahead in the count. Davis had control problems in the inning. Backhanded by Fisk. It is 2-1. All of the scoring in this game up till now coming in the first inning. Tigers jumped ahead with 2 quick runs. Now we're in the last of the 5th. They're trying to score a couple of more here. Base hit could do it. Ball 3. Well,
they still won't give in to it.
And again, with first base open, there's no reason to.
These are the kind of situations here can just break your back. If he makes a mistake right here, and Grubb gets a base hit, picks up a couple of more runs. As you mentioned, the way the White Sox have been swinging the bats, there's a lot of the air goes out of the balloon.
Very high. Well, he walks Grubb. He has walked the bases loaded. You might ask there beforehand, why did he not just go ahead and walk Grubb intentionally with the right-hand batter coming up? Here comes Fregosi. He's got Win ready. But Johnny Grubb, should also be noted, is hitless on the year, 0 for 17. We're going to have a pitching change, apparently, and there's the call, and we'll be right back in Detroit. John Miller, along with Hawk Harrelson. We're in Tiger Stadium in Detroit. Always a great place to be.
Oh, boy.
NBC's Game of the Week. And right now, the Detroit Tigers threatening to bust this one open again.
Well, Jim Wynn, the 27-year-old right-hander newly acquired from the Pittsburgh Pirates for outfielder John Cangelosi coming in. He's been struggling. And here he's got the sacks full with a good fastball hitter, which Wynn is primarily a fastball pitcher, and Darnell Coles. One of the reasons Fregosi made that change in that situation, even though he had first base open and walked Johnny Grubb, was Coles had seen Davis twice. And now he wants to give him a little different look up there at home plate.
Jim Wynn, formerly with the Pirates. As you say, he has been struggling. 4 1/3 innings, 5 runs, 9 hits, and 5 walks he's allowed. And here he is with 3 men on, so there's nowhere to put Coles. Coles with a sacrifice fly, and he's also struck out, and he takes strike 1. 0-1 the count. 2-0 Detroit. Joel Davis worked 4 1/3 innings. He gave up 3 hits, no runs yet, but here in the 5th inning, he walked them loaded. Sheridan at third, Noakes at second, and Grubb at first. The 1-strike pitch on the way. A ball and a strike. Jim Wynn, the man they sent away to get him, John Cangelosi. Everyone you talk with the White Sox about Cangelosi, very high in his praise. They said the guy has a lot of heart, gave you everything he had. 1 ball, 1 strike to Coles. Cangelosi surprised a lot of people last year when he made the ball club after a fine spring. A ball and a strike to count. In the sun, caught by Steve Lyons, and Coles hit it hard but got nothing for it. 3 men left for the Tigers. They have stranded 7 already, and at the end of 5, it's still 2. Tigers grounds crew center stage here at Tiger Stadium. We played the 5th inning. They've gone out and dragged the infield with those gigantic brooms. Just need one of those for my kitchen. A couple of swipes and it'd be all set. Jeff Robinson now.
You don't need one for your hair.
John Grubb told me they thought more hair was growing in today.
It looks like it, John. I'm proud of you.
Clean living. Let's pause briefly now for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network. Greg Walker, the hitter for the Chicago White Sox, as he starts things off in the 6th inning. Jeff Robinson did it last week in his first start in Chicago, and he's doing it again today to the White Sox. Hit sharply, but Bergman with a nice stop. Robinson covering. They got it. Tiger infield coming up with another good play.
That's what they're there for. And the play by Bergman right here, especially in a 2-0 game, making a good play. I was watching Jeff Robinson warm up between innings. He was having trouble getting loose. That was a long top of the, or I should say the 5th inning for the Tigers was a long inning. And he came out there, he was stretching out, trying to get loose. The ball was hit hard by Walker.
Here's Ron Hassey. He's got a couple of doubles in this game. He's got 2 of Chicago's 3 hits. The count is 0-1. Ron Hassey. What a fine hitter he is. Off to a slow start this year. Foul tipped into the glove of Noakes. It is 0-2. Hassey came to the White Sox last year and ended up being one of their best hitters. He came one time and never got there.
Never put a uniform on and left.
Two strikes to count to him. Just a bit outside. With Carlton Fisk catching today, we're not getting a look at Ron Karkovice, the young catcher. And I know you're real high on his defensive abilities.
Oh, he's as good as there is in this league, catching it and throwing it.
That one popped up. Coles and Noakes both go for it. Coles calls him off. Hassey fouls out to third, out number 2. And here is Carlton Fisk. 2 down in the 6th inning. The White Sox being shut out by Jeff Robinson. A 2-0 ball game. The Yankees won today. Boston a winner. Here's a look at that play. One-handed it.
Well, a lot of people have accused me of starting that in baseball, but I had a very, I thought, logical answer for it because of the fact, as bad as my hands were, I always felt that 1 hand closer to the ball was better than 2 hands closer to the ball. I don't like the one-handed catch now, simply for the fact, especially in that situation right there, where it's just a routine play. If the ball pops out, you have a better chance if the other hand is near. Fisk. This will go back out of play over the rooftop. The other night, you saw him by the 2-handed catch. Robin Yount, when he made the great catch to complete the no-hitter dramatically with 2 out in the 9th inning for Juan Nieves. He made the headlong dive to his left in right center field, and he caught the ball reaching as far as he could go out. He slid across the wet grass, and it was a great picture, reaching out with his bare hand and closing up that glove the whole way. One strike to count to Fisk. Carlton is 0 for 2.
Lines one into center, base hit. Well, it's a second shot that he's hit out there this time. He dropped it in for the single. The fourth hit for Chicago, and with 2 out, we'll bring up Darrell Boston, who has a hit, a single in the 4th. He's also struck out.
There was a slider that Robinson got up over the plate, and Fisk just stayed with it. That's all. Now, the pitch that he popped Hasse on was a high slider that Hasse, in essence, got himself out on, and that happens so much at the plate. Pitcher will make a mistake, and hitters against Robinson have got to be geared down low because he is a sinker slider type pitcher. All of a sudden now, when you get a hitter geared down low and he makes a mistake up, a lot of times you'll pop it up or miss it.
That one is too low. Ball 1 to Boston. Talking about guys using weights and, to use your phrase, high-tech baseball. Carlton Fisk is a fellow who went on the weights a couple of years ago, partly to overcome an injury that had plagued him. And then he came back and had one of his best years. Hit 37 home runs at age 37. And
well, there are always
believer.
exceptions. Well, I'll tell you, those weights can be to the point of being almost addictive to some players. But there are always exceptions to every rule. I think for the most part, especially pitchers, they're better. Oh, Darrell had a good pitch to hit right there and didn't get it. But pitchers are better off staying away from those weights, especially anything having to do with weights above the shoulders.
2 balls, 1 strike to count to Boston.
Pitchers need range of motion and fluidity out there, and those weights have a tendency to bunch up.
Breaking ball, 3-1. Now, there is a machine, I know, pitchers who are having some problems, arm problems, will use a machine. It can measure how much arm strength is in there.
Cybex.
The Cybex machine. And it can also, I guess, basically duplicate that motion, that pitching motion, and help bring strength back in there. That's ball 4 to Boston. So Robinson runs into a little bump in the road with 2 down here in the 6th. Fisk over to second. The batter, Steve Lyons. 2-0 Detroit out in front. We're in the 6th inning. This telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Tigers are going to get somebody loose in their bullpen now.
Mark Thurman.
He was up earlier. Lefty. Here's the pitch to Steve Lyons. Strike. Lyons, I think, thought maybe is a little bit too low. Lyons is twice grounded out. Fisk at second, Boston at first. They'll both run at the crack of the bat here with 2 down. There's a ball. 1-1. Changed up on it.
Good motion by Robinson.
It's a ball and 2 strikes now. Robinson only 25. Great big fellow, 6 feet 6 inches tall. Never had really an exceptional year in the minor leagues. A little bit outside. 2-2. Now, if you're Lions, your 3rd time around against this guy, what are you looking for here?
Is there anything else? He got it. The fastball.
Chet Lemon under it, and he one-hands it. So Robinson again gets out of it. The White Sox have stranded 7, and at the end of 5.5, Detroit still leading. Well, the Brewers haven't clinched it yet, but dating back to last year, I guess we should have all seen it coming when they won their last 3 games of 1986. And now they've won their first 11 this year. Will they ever lose? Probably they will, but when? Texas, on the other hand, wondering if they'll ever win another ball game. The Rangers, off to their worst ever start, they are now 1-9. I think fewer people would have been surprised if Texas had gotten off to this kind of start.
Well, the Brewers Brewers, as we mentioned, a bunch of young kids over there, and evidently the chemistry has just been marvelous for them, as you see right there. Mike Schmidt cranking out, and our congratulations go out to Michael on number 500. But the Brewers, young club, good arms, good young talent offensively, sprinkled with some veterans, as you mentioned earlier. Hey, more power to them.
Here is Dave Bergman. He is 0 for 2. Facing Jim Wynn, the third Chicago pitcher. 2-0 Detroit in the 6th inning. This one way up there, foul ground. Tim Hewlett, the third baseman, stays with it. He got it. 1 down. And that'll bring up Chester Lemon. Talking about the Milwaukee Brewers. And we mentioned earlier about Paul Molitor, Robin Yount. Cecil Cooper's back now after starting the year on the disabled list. And right away he came back. His first night, rusty and everything else, he got 2 big sacrifice flies against the Orioles, against a left-hander, Scott McGregor, to drive in important runs. And they've got some young guys that they really think could blossom into stars. Everyone, even though he didn't hit well last year when he came up, everyone over there thinks that Glenn Braggs is going to be one of the outstanding players in this game.
I'm in that group. Boys, he got some feet on him.
Some feet?
Oh, man. 14s or 15s. It's unbelievable how big his feet are. He gets in that batter's box, covers the whole thing.
Is there some foot formula to success there? Is there a correlation?
No, but there are other formulas that come into play.
Well, he's got big feet, and even so, he's a great prospect. Lemon swings and misses. 1 ball, 2 strikes. They've got a catcher by the name of B.J. Surhoff. And Andy Etchebarren is a pretty good catcher himself in his day with the Orioles, now a coach of Milwaukee. I asked him if there was somebody that Surhoff reminded him of a little bit. Even though Surhoff's a left-hand batter, he said he hits a lot like Thurman Munson. And he's got that same kind of attitude that Thurman had. Kind of surly at times, especially at the plate. He wants to be up there and driving the big run. He thinks he's going to be an excellent clutch hitter.
Well, something's going right for him. 11 in a row.
3-2 now to Chet Lemon. Of course, another veteran I didn't mention earlier, Jim Gantner's still there, still turning double plays. They got fellas in the bullpen. Every time they come in, they're getting guys out. You keep saying, who are these guys? Chris Bosio, Chuck Krim. Got him swinging. 2 down here in the 6th inning. We're going to take you briefly back to New York.
John in San Diego with a runner on third, and the Padres and Dodgers tied at 2-all in the top of the 7th. Rookie James Steele, who was inserted for his defensive skills, makes a diving catch to rob Mickey Hatcher of a base hit. They're still tied at 2 apiece in San Diego. Now back to John Miller in Detroit.
With Hawk Harrelson back in Detroit, thanks to Jimmy Cefalo for that. 2-0 here. The Tigers leading the White Sox. 2 down, nobody on. Last half of the 6th inning. Fouled back toward the booth man by Ernie Harwell, one of the greats in the broadcasting business, working with Paul Carey here in Detroit for many, many years. Talk about tradition. There's a tradition. Ernie Harwell broadcasting baseball. Brookins now with a count of 2-1. Brookins has singled and grounded out to short. He's hitting 9th in the order. Jim Wynn, come on, settle things down. He inherited a bases loaded situation in the 5th and has retired everybody he's faced until just now. Down the line, a long run for Reedus, and Brookins has excellent speed to second base, and he'll hold there. Reedus digging it out of the corner. Brookins with a double. The White Sox have a left-hander loosening up in their bullpen as the left-hand batting Whitaker comes up. And Fisk out to the mound to visit with Jim Wynn. Left-hander Ray Searage loosening up for the White Sox. Now Whitaker hitting in the leadoff spot. There's Searage. He's a left-hand hitter, and he is one of 5 in a row here at the top of the order. So we may well see Sirridge here in a moment.
I think that's what you're going to see. And Fisk was just out killing a little time with Jimmy Wynn, who came in and did a good job. Retired the first 3 guys, and then actually that was not that bad a pitch on Brookins. Tried to get it in on him, and he just shot it down the line.
So with 2 down, Sirridge makes his way to the mound, and we'll be back.
Pitching change for the White Sox. 31-year-old southpaw Ray Sirridge coming over from the Milwaukee organization last year. Sirridge making his 5th appearance. No record, no earned run average. He's worked in 7 2/3, given up just 3 hits. The 1 run, it was unearned, obviously. He's walked 5, and he has 3 strikeouts. So Sirridge, the 4th White Sox pitcher of the afternoon in a 2-0 ball game.
And on the face of it, it would seem to be a pretty good move by Jim Fregosi to bring him in here to face Whitaker. Whitaker, an excellent hitter, but last year he hit only .221 against left-hand pitching. Whitaker today has doubled and singled in 3 trips. Got a breaking ball. Sirridge stumbled just a little bit, but he got him. And just like that, the inning is over. We played 6-2-0 Detroit. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station. For thousands of Tiger fans for many, many years, the voice of Ernie Harwell. That's the sound of summer here in Detroit. He's been describing the pitches, the home runs, the ground balls of the Detroit Tigers. And for a number of years before that, the Orioles, the Brooklyn Dodgers, the New York Giants, one of the great broadcasters in the game, already honored in the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. One of the great gentlemen in the game as well.
I'll tell you, that's the key right there, is the fact that as great a broadcaster as he is, he's a better person. What a nice person Ernie is.
Here is Tim Hewlett. He takes ball 1 from Jeff Robinson. Hewlett has flied to deep left and grounded out to third. He'll be followed by Ozzie Guillen and then leadoff hitter Gary Reedus. 2-0 Detroit out in front. We're in the 7th inning.
2-6-0 for the Tigers. 0-4-0 for the White Sox. White Sox last night coming up with just 5 hits off Tanana, King, and Thurman.
Popped him up right on the edge of the shadows there is Bergman, and back into the shade to make the catch. And Hewlett is out number 1.
So the Tiger pitching staff continues to do their job out there.
It's a 2-0 game. It's a low-scoring ball game, but that's a little bit deceiving because for the Tigers, on the one hand, it's been a constant assault on the White Sox pitching staff. They've had numerous base runners. They've stranded 8 in 6 innings, and the White Sox have had their shots as well.
Total of 15 stranded runners in this game.
That one disappeared up there. Guillen swung at the ball, ended up in the dirt. 0-1. Ozzie has walked, and he was robbed of a hit. Fine play by Darnell Coles, the third baseman, back in the 5th inning. Coles plays him shallow. The rest of the infield backed up. 1 strike, the count. Got the corner. 0-2.
Well, the key to Robinson's success this afternoon has been one thing, that good hard slider. He's got a good one. And the White Sox, for the most part, are not a good breaking ball hitting club.
Foul. Back into the crowd, in amongst the spectators.
And with the absence of Harold Baines, who had that arthroscopic knee surgery, boy, that just looks like a different offensive situation out there for the White Sox.
Tigers lose a fellow like Kirk Gibson, which is a comparable situation. A guy who hits a lot of home runs without even comparing the two of them, saying which one's better. Obviously, he's a key man in this Tiger lineup. But
no doubt about it, John. It just changed. There's a good fastball. Started him off with a curveball down out of the strike zone, and then came back and painted the outside corner with 2 heaters. There's a nice sequence. Look at the fastball right here. Look at Matt Noakes setting him up on the outside corner. And he just paints it right there.
So 2 men down in the White Sox 7th inning, and here's leadoff man Gary Reedus. He has flied out twice and has walked once. 0 for 2. Tigers lose Kirk Gibson, and they've still got Darrell Evans, Johnny Grubb, Lou Whitaker, some guys who can hurt you in there. The White Sox lose a guy like Harold Baines and Greg Walker's
almost devastating.
Yeah?
It's almost devastating. As we mentioned last year, the Tigers hit 198 home runs. So they got some strong supporting cast for Gibson. Obviously, when he's in that lineup, he certainly is one of the most intimidating hitters in all of baseball, because everybody in the ballpark, every time he walks to the plate, knows he can hit it, has the ability to hit it 500 feet or more. And it changes the whole complexion of the way that pitcher works out there on the mound.
2 down here in the 7th inning. Detroit leading 2-0. Here's the 2-strike pitch. Very high from Robinson. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Tigers last year lost Kirk Gibson for a long, long time, very early in the season, and they didn't play well without him. When they got him back, they got hot. Into the hole. Brookins can't do it, and with Rita's speed, he probably would have been just as well off having held on to that one. An infield hit for Gary Ritas, and that is the 5th hit for Chicago, bringing up Donnie Hill.
Yeah, the only thing that can happen on that play, trying to finish it up like Brookins did right there, is the fact that you're liable to do something bad with an errant throw. You're not going to get him, but a situation right here is the pitching coach, Billy Muffett, quickly out of the Tiger dugout with the situation of the speed of Ritas, who has 5 stolen bases in 5 attempts this season. In a 2-0 ball game, if Robinson remains out there, you're liable to see some action in a hurry.
And there is action right now in the Tiger bullpen as Muffett discusses the situation with Robinson. A right-hander and a left-hander. The right-hander is King, and the left-hander is Thurmond, who, in the absence of Willie Hernandez, or right now the closers, particularly Eric King, is the guy they like out there late in the ball game.
Boy, he's got a good arm. That conversation with Muffett right there to Robinson, as you look at George Anderson, was one of, hey, look, he's liable to take off. You got to get the hitter. You got a 2-0 lead.
That one is hit deep down the line, and this one is gone. A home run. A 2-run homer for Donnie Hill into the upper deck. And just like that, the White Sox have tied the game. Only the 3rd home run of the year for the White Sox. And Donnie Hill, who is not a fellow that you figure is much of a power hitter, but that one nestled in there sweetly into the upper deck for the White Sox. And now we start over again. 2-2 in the 7th inning.
Donnie Hill can turn you around on the fastball. He got it up right there from Robinson, and he did not miss it. There it was, about letter high, and he just wheels on it. Good extension, upper tank.
Now here is Greg Walker. He takes ball 1. Hill had hit only 11 home runs as a big leaguer and averaged about 1 homer per every 100 at-bats. That one is hit high and deep in the right field. This one with Sheridan back, and he's got it.
He just missed it right off the end of the bat.
The White Sox have tied it. And now here's another edition of Baseball Remembers.
Out in San Diego, the tie between the Dodgers and Padres has been broken. No one out in the top of the 8th. Pedro Guerrero single to left. That scored Steve Sachs, and it gave the Dodgers a 3-2 lead. Now back to John Miller in Detroit.
And there's Donnie Hill in Detroit, thanks to Jimmy Cefalo for that update. We're at 2-2 here, last of the 7th inning. And as the Tigers come to bat with Sheridan, well, he's due up, but we'll see what Sparky Anderson has in mind. Sheridan is going to lead it off, followed by Noakes and Evans. We've got a 2-2 ball game. Eric King is now loosening up in the Tiger bullpen, so maybe we'll see him in the 8th inning. The White Sox have some action in their bullpen as well.
Right-hander Bobby Thigpen.
Donnie Hill. There's Thigpen. Donnie Hill hit 4 home runs last year for the A's, including one against the White Sox in September at Comiskey Park against Pete Filson, a lefty pitching for the White Sox at that time. Pat Sheridan has flied out, singled and walked, 1 for 2. And Searage throws him a strike. Strike now. The Tigers got 2 runs in the 1st inning, and they had the bases loaded in the 2nd, but did not score. They got the bases loaded in the 5th and did not score. Darrell Boston caught it, just off the right knee there. Sheridan retired. And now Matt Noakes will come to bat. Now Sparky's got all of these left-hand hitters, and he's got a bench full of right-hand hitters, including Larry Herndon, Mike Heath, Orlando Mercado, Terry Harper. Alan Trammell is with the ball club. He took batting practice, but they really want him to take it easy with the thigh injury, hoping that he'll be able to return by the end of the week. Right now, Sparky's going to stay with the lefties in a 2-2 ball game.
Well, the White Sox have some balance in their bullpen. They have two left-handers. They have Joel McEwen. And, of course, Sparky at this juncture of the ball game, bottom of the 7th, tied at 2. Bobby Thigpen is turning to be the ace of the White Sox pen. So he wants to stay out there and let this situation run its course for a while. He didn't want to use up all his players in a hurry.
1-2 now. The count to Noakes. Searage, a couple of sliders by him there. Darrell Evans is on deck. Ray Searage, a well-traveled left-hander. He got it. And the Chicago bullpen has pitched all but 1/3 of an inning in this ball game. And they have shut out the Tigers since the first inning, when Detroit got its 2 runs, both charged to starter Neil Allen. Here is Darrell Evans. Now, Evans has had an excellent record against left-hand pitching the last couple of years.
He sits on pitches. That's why. That's how guys hit. For an example, right-handers, right-handers, left-handers, left-handers. They go up there. They know what the guy has. They'll sit on a pitch, and if they get it, but that's experience.
There's a strike.
Now that's when it comes down to Fisk right there, the veteran behind the plate. Probably thinking the last thing in the world Evans is going to be looking for is the number 1 right there. He gets it. Now they'll probably go away, but they did, with another fastball. At this juncture in Evans' mind, he's got a real big strike zone right now. He's been, looks like, sitting on the slider. And all of a sudden, they've come with 2 number 1s right at him.
And another fastball. Well, the White Sox thought they had him, but Rick Reed thought otherwise.
This came up a little early in that. He may have blocked Rick Reed out.
The umpire can't see home plate when the ball comes in there. He's not liable to call it a strike. Well, he got the slider there and didn't hit it very hard. So Ray Searage sets down the 3 lefties in a row. We've played 7 full. Chicago 2, Detroit 2.
A new battery for the Detroit Tigers here in the top of the 8th in a 2-2 tie. Moving in behind the plate in place of Matt Noakes, it'll be 25-year-old Orlando Mercado. And on the mound, 23-year-old right-hander. He's a good one, Eric King.
King will face Ron Hassey to start it off, and he misses outside with ball 1. Tell us about Eric King.
Good arm. He comes right at you. Also has a good curveball. And he will do a number for the Tigers this year. He can rush it up there in a hurry.
He'd rather be a starting pitcher. He started 16 times last year, did awfully well. They started him as a reliever, put him in the rotation for 16 starts, and then his last 10 appearances of the year were as a reliever. Did well in both roles, and Sparky Anderson had talked about in the spring of getting him in there as a compliment to Willie Hernandez. He said Willie's a little overworked. He can't do it alone.
And that's necessity being the mother of invention right there, because of the fact that you have to have somebody out there. And he, as I say, when you get the hard-throwing right-handers and you bring them in, and then all of a sudden you got Hernandez out there who comes in with the good screwball, it makes quite a tandem.
King has been in 5 games this year, pitching 6 innings. He's given up a run and 3 hits and has 7 strikeouts in the 6 innings. Lou Whitaker in shallow right field over to Bergman. And Ron Hassey. Dangerous hitter, but King gets him even though he fell behind on the count. Here's Carlton Fisk coming up now. 2-2. We're in the 8th inning.
Little swap right there, something you very seldom see happen. Carlton Fisk waited for the bat boy to get Ron Hassey's bat back, goes up, trades his for it.
So the question being, was Hassey using Fisk's bat or is Fisk using Hassey's bat?
Come on. Hey,
I won't be able to sleep tonight.
Both of them been going a little rugged. It's probably one of Bobby Thigpen's bats.
1-0 the count to Fisk. Carlton is lined out to center. He's hit into a fielder's choice, and he is lined a single into center. 1 for 3. That's foul off to the right, back into the upper deck.
In fact, the way they've been hitting the ball is probably Donnie Hill's bat.
Maybe they should all use Donnie Hill's bat. The White Sox had only scored 7 runs against the Tigers for the season series until today. Not only have the Tigers been beating them, most of the games have been lopsided. Base hit for Fisk.
Definitely Donnie Hill's bat.
All right, now I can sleep. Here's Darrell Boston. Boston has struck out. He's singled, and he has walked. 1 for 2. 2-2 tie. We're in the 8th inning.
We had a player on the Red Sox that used to do that, and he would do it on certain counts. He would switch bats. In fact, that's one of the reasons they changed that rule, and that was Tony Conigliaro. He'd start with one bat, then all of a sudden, if the count went to 2-0, he'd go back and get another one. If the count went to 3-2, he'd come back and get his old bat. Constantly changing.
Fisk is going to leave now. We're going to get a pinch runner in the ball game for him.
Ron Karkovice. Karkovice has good speed.
Karkovice is wearing the shoes of Gary Reedus. White Sox continue the communal living. And there's a strike to Darrell Boston. It was a very famous ball game. Talking about a switch in bats game I know you remember well. 1978, that playoff game. Bucky Dent.
Mickey Rivers.
Rivers noticed that Dent's bat was cracked. It's a painful memory for a lot of folks up in New England.
Oh, boy.
1 ball, 1 strike to count to Darrell Boston. Eric King in relief of Jeff Robinson. Into right center field, a base hit. Sheridan will hold Boston to a single, but into third base is Karkovice. The throw comes all the way through. Boston holding it first, though. So Boston has his second hit. He'd had only 3 all year until today. And now the White Sox are really in business here. 1 out, and Steve Lyons is the batter.
Well, King just coming at Boston with a fastball, and Darrell turned him around.
Jim Fregosi. Is he one to put on a suicide squeeze in a spot like this?
Not very likely. But then again, Fregosi, the way the club has been going, is starting to get to him a little bit. He's liable to do anything. As we saw last night.
Well, last night he came up. He had the bases loaded, down by 2. He had 1 out, 9th inning. Double play ball into that one. Up the middle. This could be 2. Whitaker to Brookins 1. The first 2. It's really getting to Fregosi now. Still 2-2 after 7. Tiger Stadium as the sun fades slowly in the west, and you see the center field area. That's where Larry Herndon crushed that ball. A home run with which Hawk Harrelson was well impressed, and Larry Herndon is going to be leading off for the Tigers here in the 8th inning as a pinch hitter for Johnny Grubb. A 2-2 tie. Larry Herndon. I know you gave an excellent description of that home run he hit, but again, the wind was blowing in. It was cold.
Johnny was awesome. As I said, it was a cold day, opening day. Dennis Rasmussen was on the mound for the Yankees. He had a 3-1 count on him, threw a fastball up and out over the plate, and I mean, he just hurt it. Right here, we're going to get a pitching change as a manager, Jim Fregosi, after they announced Larry Herndon. And he's going to go to what has developed last year and now the first part of this season into his ace in the bullpen, young right-hander Bobby Thigpen.
So Ray Searage went out there and warmed up, but then when Larry Herndon was officially entered into the game, Fregosi made the long stroll from the dugout to bring in his 5th pitcher of the day, Bobby Thigpen. Thigpen came up late last year and became the closer in the absence of Bob James. Well, I want to remind you that next weekend, NBC Sports continues its coverage of the 1987 baseball season. Coverage starts with Major League Baseball, an inside look. Then, speedster Ricky Henderson will lead the Yankees against the 1986 American League RBI champ Joe Carter and his Cleveland Indians. That'll be a battle of a couple of great offensive ball clubs, the Yankees and the Indians. And some of you will see the San Francisco Giants take on the Atlanta Braves. The tradition is here. The memories are waiting on NBC Sports. This is John Miller with Hawk Harrelson. We're in the 8th inning at Tiger Stadium, and Bobby Thigpen, he did so very well at the tail end of last year. Hawk, what is it that makes him so tough?
He throws hard, and his fastball has real good movement on it. Bobby Thigpen started off the season last year at Birmingham as a starter, and the reason that the White Sox did that was simply for the fact he is coming out of Mississippi State. He was an outfielder primarily. They used him in relief sometimes, but he had not worked that many innings. So the White Sox sent him down to Birmingham. He worked a lot of innings. His record was not that impressive, but they had him on a program down there to where he was going to throw so many breaking pitches, so many curveballs, so many changeups in his game, regardless win, lose, or draw. And then when the Sox brought him up last season, put him in relief, he did a number. As I said, he throws very hard, good movement on the fastball.
And he'll face Larry Herndon, the pinch hitter. Now, the only left-hand batter that Sparky Anderson has on his bench is Dwight Lowry, one of his catchers. And Sparky has quite a few of those. He got 4 catchers on the roster. Darnell Coles, another right-hand batter on deck, and Bergman, a lefty, is due up 3rd in the inning. Herndon looks at, called strike 1. Thigpen has been in 4 games. He has 1 save. 10 2/3 innings. He's given up 11 hits. He's walked 5 and struck out 3. Foul off the right field side. Thigpen, you mentioned his pitching in Mississippi State. And he says that it still affects him, and it's hard to believe that it does, but he gave up a home run in the College World Series to a fellow named Greg Alina with the Miami Hurricanes. Cost him a ball game in the College World Series. And he says he still has to work on blocking that out of his memory. Off his glove. Where is it? He found it. And he got it. And Herndon is retired. 1 down. Darnell Coles coming up.
Bobby Thigpen, probably the best athlete on the White Sox club. Right there, he's looking for just a little bit more than he got off the heel of the glove. Recovers quickly. Easy play for him. He will also be used this year, says manager Jim Fregosi, in pinch hitting roles.
Well, at Mississippi State, he was a full-time outfielder and a part-time pitcher. Here's Coles, 0 for 2. He does have a sacrifice fly. That was back in the 1st, the only inning in which the Tigers have been able to score. We're in the 8th inning now, a 2-2 tie.
Power against power right here. Good fastball pitcher against a good fastball hitter. He just missed it. Mercy.
Now that is way up there. It may not come down. Walker settles under it. It did, and he got it. Out number 2. It's interesting. Thigpen talking about the home run that Alina gave up. They'd had a big lead in that ball game, and Thigpen had hit a grand slam homer to give his team a big lead against Miami, coached by Ron Frazier. And then Alina hit the big home run to beat him late. And he says that he thinks about the pitch all the time, except when he's pitching. And even then, he has to really work to get it out of his mind. One of those things where it affects his confidence.
We all have things in our past that give us brain cramps occasionally.
Here's the 1-0 pitch. Very high, ball 2. Talk about that, and I know you know many of those Red Sox players so very well. Played with them. You were there for many years as a broadcaster. People talk about the heartbreaking way they lost the World Series last year, having it within their grasp. Will that affect them this year? Is that something they're going to have to overcome?
Sure it is. I don't think there's any question about it. Let's put it this way. There's nothing positive or upside that can come out of it.
2-1 the count to Dave Bergman. Hit deep to right field, down the line, and this one is upper deck, a home run. Dave Bergman putting the Tigers ahead swiftly and suddenly. His first home run of the year, and it was out of here the moment he hit it well back into the upper deck in right field.
Fastball up and in. Bergman just sitting on the #1 from Thigpen, who has yet to get a breaking ball over. And there's Chet Lemon jumping on the first ball fastball.
Lemon muscled that one over the infield, over the middle. And now Dick Bosman, the pitching coach, going to the mound to visit with Bobby Thigpen. Dave Bergman. That's the kind of stuff he was doing in 1984 in these kind of situations quite often. Of course, everybody was doing it for the Tigers that year.
What, they have a 35-4 start that season?
35-5. Not too bad. Actually, the Brewers will have to go some. If you're going to talk about a star, you do what the Tigers did.
That 84 Tiger club was one of the best-looking clubs I've seen in 27 years in this game.
Bobby Thigpen now to face Tom Brookins after a few words of encouragement and advice from his pitching coach, Dick Bosman. Bergman hit only 1 home run all of last year in 130 at-bats. Brookins fouls it into the batter's box. And he never did hit a home run in this ballpark last year.
To say that in that lineup, he's probably the last guy in the world I'd have thought would have taken Thigpen out of here. That's why it's a beautiful game.
Right field. Here is Lyons still coming, and he's got it. Yeah, he had to battle that low-lying sun. Tigers have taken the lead. We're heading into the 9th inning, and Detroit is leading 3-2. Back at Tiger Stadium, I'm John Miller with Hawk Harrelson. And Hawk, we've had a couple of big home runs late in this ball game, each of which was from a rather unexpected source.
Donnie Hill and Dave Bergman. As a matter of fact, we'll get into it as the inning progresses here a little bit about the irony of that Dave Bergman home run.
Here is Tim Hewlett, and he takes a strike from Eric King. This is King's game to win now. Hewlett to be followed by Guillen and Reedus. The bullpen is busy for the Tigers. Hewlett, did he hold up on the swing? No, he did not, said first base umpire John Hirschbeck. Strike 2 the count. Hewlett is 0 for 3. There have been some things in the papers. They expect Kirk Gibson maybe to be back as early as next weekend. They'll have to make a move on the roster to make room for him. And there's been some speculation that perhaps Bergman would be the guy to go. 1-2 to Hewlett. And indeed, you talk about an unexpected home run. Bergman hit just the 1 last year, and he has hit only 4 in the last 2 years. Popped up. Maybe playable for Mercado. He's under it. He's got it. Right over near Ozzie Guillen in the on-deck circle. 1 down in the 9th inning. Mark Thurmond, a left-hander, loosening up in the Tiger bullpen. Well, this is the way the Tigers have been playing these ball games. Excellent pitching, timely hitting, just enough hitting. And with the White Sox, just enough hitting to be behind late. Or not
when
enough
you're hitting under
win.
200 as a club, you're not going to win a whole bunch of ball games. It's just that simple. White Sox last year had trouble offensively. As a matter of fact, probably, as I watched the club play all the games last season, probably the worst right-handed attack I've seen in my career in baseball.
Well, the 2 big sluggers, Walker and Baines, both left-handed. That's hit high and foul out of play down the left field line. One ball, 1 strike to count to Guillen. He has walked. He's been robbed of a hit by Darnell Coles, and he struck out looking. 0 for 2. Gary Reedus is on deck. Herndon can't get to it. Herndon looks like he's hurting a little bit, running with a little bit of a limp. So the White Sox, and remember last night in a 3-1 loss, they came on in the 9th inning, ended up with the bases loaded, only 1 out before they lost the ball game, and now they've got something started here in the 9th inning today. Gary Reedus, the leadoff hitter, been on base twice, once with a walk. And then in the 7th inning, he got an infield hit with 2 down. And moments later, Donnie Hill came up and hit a 2-run homer to tie this game. But now the White Sox are trailing once again, 3-2 on Dave Bergman's home run. 1 out in the 9th inning. 0-1. The White Sox have 9 hits in this game, but they have stranded 8 runners. They have had a man thrown out at the plate. They've had a man wiped out on a double play ball.
Well, they had a couple of boners on the base paths that hurt.
Breaking ball, strike 2.
That one's going to get a lot of it. Well, he comes with a good heat, then comes back with a hook on the outside corner, low and away. That's nasty.
That play by Hasse back in the 4th inning looms a little larger now. He had led off the inning with a double and then got thrown out on an ill-advised journey to third and a ground ball hit in front of him. And moments later, Carlton Fisk singled to center. Might have had a run there, although it's hard to say what a hitter would have done. 2 strikes the count. The Dodgers have won a ball game. Tommy Lasorda will smile tonight, beating San Diego 5-2. And what a difficult start for Larry Bowa. He's now 2-10 in his first go-around as a big league manager. 1-2 now to Reedus. Bowa got his first ejection the other day too, which I guess wasn't all that unexpected.
It's going to be the first of many.
1-2 to Reedus. Donnie Hill is on deck. Here it comes. 2-2. Pretty good crowd today in Detroit. 20,607. City is just crazy for sports right now. They had 22,000 at the Silverdome to watch the Pistons play last night. The Red Wings are selling out every game at the Joe Louis Arena. Still 2-2.
Pistons drew almost 1 million people this year. Over 900,000, breaking the all-time NBA record set by the Seattle Supersonics.
Here's King with a move to first. Guillen diving back to the bag. Tiger outfield with Lemon straight away in center, and everybody is deep.
Big pitch right here for Eric King.
Slider. Ooh, that was close.
Rick Reed started to ring him up, checked it out. Looked like a good pitch. Good breaking ball.
Full count. Here's a look. Ooh. Throw to first. Guillen is back. Guillen going to be running on this pitch?
It's a situation you get a free swinger. I would doubt it. But you got the free swinger in Reedus. Mercado has a good arm. We'll see what Fregosi wants to do. There he's going.
Reedus got a piece of it.
I would think in that situation that he might want to give Donnie Hill one more shot. Even though he's not a home run hitter, at least he's a good fastball hitter. And of course they got the left-hander Mark Thurman, the Tigers do, down in the pen. King can rush it up there. Right here, Reedus with a big strike zone. As I said, it's going to be a strike him out, throw him out if he misses.
Mercado, of the 4 Tiger catchers, is the guy I think Sparky likes defensively. Guillen runs, and again Reedus fouls it back. Still 3-2. A 3-2 score, 9th inning. Detroit out in front.
It's turned out to be a pretty good ball game. Even though the Tigers scored 2, wasn't a whole bunch going on there for a while. And then boom, 2-run homer by Donnie Hill on the top of the 7th. Then the solo shot by Bergman last inning.
A game where how many different times the Tigers were on the verge of busting it wide open. Fregosi using pitcher after pitcher, and the bullpen really came through for him today.
The bullpen did an outstanding job for Chicago. And thus far, the bullpen's done a pretty good job for the Tigers.
Again, a throw to first, and again, Guillen diving back safely. Art Kushner is the coach over there, keeping an eye on him. And Dave Bergman, the big home run. Guillen dusts himself off. Reedus, meanwhile, to the plate, backing out of the batter's box. And everything comes to a halt here for the moment. Now Reedus back in there, 3-2 the count. Guillen has been running on each of the last 2 pitches, and there he goes again. Popped up, way up there. Coles wants it. And he's got it. 2 down in the 9th inning. And that leaves it to the fellow who was one of the White Sox hero, at least for a while, Donnie Hill. His 2-run homer in the 7th into the upper deck tied this ball game. And here he is again. Donnie Hill, as we mentioned earlier, not a big home run hitter, but last year of his 4 home runs, 2 came very early in the season. He had a great April, hit a couple of homers, was hitting about 400 for the month.
Well, the chances of Donnie going deep again are very remote. He's never done it in his career. But what he's trying to do, Lugosi is trying to do in this situation, get Greg Walker to the plate.
King starts him with a strike. Fastball in there. 0-1. Hill is 1 for 3 in the game. Back in the 5th inning, he just missed hitting one out of the ballpark. Deep into right center, he hit it, where it was caught. 2 down in the 9th. A pitch out. Guillen wasn't going anywhere. Mercado now, after that pitch out, takes a long look over into the dugout. Tigers under Sparky Anderson for many years called pitches for Lance Perry. Not many years, but for a long time they did. Strike 2 on the outside. Another fastball. Two down in the 9th inning. 3-2, the Tigers out in front. Runner at first, Ozzie Guillen. And Donnie Hill with just one more strike of life for he and his White Sox teammates. Guillen ready to go on anything here. King to the plate. Herndon has trouble with it. He's got it. The Tigers have won it. Herndon thought it had been hit a little bit better than it was, but he was able to overcome his initial mistake, and the Tigers win this ball game, but their hearts are pounding just a little bit. 3-2 Detroit, the winner. This week's NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game is Dave Bergman. Miller Lite is happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Dave Bergman to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. The Major League Baseball Game of the Week has been brought to you by Miller Lite. For great taste, there is only one light beer. By Honda Power Equipment, lawnmowers, riding mowers, and portable generators made to last. By Radio Shack Computer Centers, in business, for business. And by Mr. Goodwrench. No one knows your GM car better than Mr. Goodwrench. No one. Now for Hawk Harrelson, this is John Miller saying so long to you from Tiger Stadium in Detroit, where the Tigers do it once again, beating the White Sox 3-2. Have a nice weekend, everyone.